Are you gonna be streaming today or just recording like last time?
Uh, I have my stream up right now.
All right.
Hopefully, it won't cut up like it did before. I'm gonna, I'm gonna do a check real quick just to make sure. I have my stream up right now. Hopefully, it won't. Okay. Okay. So stream is up and everything. Boss Clip, say something real quick.
Testing, testing.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Just need to make sure you're coming out of my set. All right. Cool, cool. All right. So all right, if you want to start it now, you can.
All right. Hey, if you're in here, just make sure to join back.
All right.
Well, actually, you have to close it.
Oh, I do. I might not even have to. Hold on. Okay. Seems like we're still in here. So what happened?
In the stage to start the event.
Yeah. I don't think anybody's gonna be able to come in now because of the it ended up shutting down.
Why would nobody be able to come in now?
I don't think it notified anybody.
Well, yeah, because you started the thing back up before I could do it.
Yeah, you right. My bad.
I can end it again and try again, but
No, it's good.
anyways, if you start up, more people will start coming whenever they see that people are in here actually debating.
I got it start. Wait.
Be right back.
All right. I'll post it in a little bit. Actually, I'll post it right now. Hold on. Uh, uh, welcome, welcome. For the few that are in here, do me a favor and send this event to some friends you think you might be interested. Uh, Maybe we can get them in here. What, you ain't got no friends? Is that what it is? I'm trying to post it. Oh, I don't know why it's being stupid. Oh wait, I know what I could do. All right, there we go. Guys should be able to see it now. See. All right, so the stream seems to be running well. No issues here. So I think I'll be able to actually, I think we can actually get started now without there being an issue. All right, so if y'all want to go to the VC down and see if you could get some lefties up here, shit, then by all means, do what you got to do. Boss Clip, if you're still in here, just say something real quick just so I can confirm that it's picking up audio. Shucks. Hold on.
Hey, did you put this up recently?
I did. All right, sorry about that. All right, so, um, all right, so Savant, you want to come up here? Sorry about that. You want to put your hand up again so I can invite you up? Y'all read the list and want to engage? By all means, click the list, skim through it, see if you can find something that stands out to you the most, and we'll go ahead and get it started. A little behind schedule, about 10 minutes behind, but yeah, that's what I don't do devil's advocate. I don't do that. I'd much rather you have a genuine disagreement with me than try to fake a disagreement. Yeah, it would. By the way, the stream is up on my YouTube channel, so if you guys want to give that a look and possibly, subscribe, that'd be nice too. You ain't got to, but that would be nice. Yeah. Bro said like an all-you-can-eat buffet. Shut your ass up, bro. I'm not about to play with you, man. I'm still waiting on somebody to put their hand up. Either that or I don't know what y'all trying to do, but shit. I ain't here just to hear myself talk. I'm here to engage. By the way, y'all can debate each other. All you gotta do is say nothing but a word. Just an FYI. Challenge each other. Feel me? Y'all not putting y'all hands up either, to be honest. Y'all trying to y'all trying to throw down or what? No pun intended. Nah, psych. Pun entirely intended. Like, fuck is y'all trying to get into? Come on now. I got plenty to go off of. Got so much to go off of. We can debate so much. Multitude of topics. $21. Sick of y'all acting like my takes are just freakishly hot. These takes are lukewarm at the most. I'm waiting for somebody to put their hand up. I'm like, listen, I already put myself in the bullpen. Come on now. Oh man, that's the pornography one. I just had that debate with Lynx last week. Damn. Alright. We doing this again? Alright. Okay, so P opened it. Wait, Savant, you had your hand up before that, so I'm gonna invite you up and then you're muted. Just in case. What's up, Egg? Long time no see. Never mind, she left. Bum. Yeah, he's not surfing muted. Savant, you're muted. Ah, fuck. Alright. P, I'll bring you up then. While he gets that figured out.
Hello?
Yo,
Yo, what's up?
nothing much. Finally got
This is
something going.
this is a bit exciting.
Alright. Yeah, it's not that exciting for me. It's probably a hell of a lot exciting for you. I do this consistently. Used to do this every day, but just now starting to make content out of it. But yeah,
Gotcha.
which one you trying to challenge me on?
I'll give you a list and you can choose. How about that?
All right, for sure.
We can talk about gender, agnosticism, objective morality, or I guess we can talk about if college is a scam or not. Whichever of those you want to talk about.
You trying to challenge me on agnosticism?
Sure. Yeah.
All right, let's hear it.
All right.
So you already know my position on it. Which essentially is the only logical conclusion, or the only logical stance to hold, which is a neutral position to hold. So, what about that do you disagree with?
Sure. I think the problem that I have is it seems like the argument here is that if you can't be 100% certain of the belief, you should remain agnostic with respect to the belief. And I don't think that that makes sense.
How so?
I don't think you can be 100% certain of essentially any belief. So I think that would get us to be agnostic about a whole bunch of stuff, like any product of inductive reasoning.
Wouldn't that sort of further my argument then that agnosticism is necessary, if not the only logical conclusion?
Maybe, but then you have to say that you don't know that the sun's going to rise tomorrow, that you're agnostic on that issue.
Well, no, not necessarily, because we know that the sun's going to rise tomorrow.
How do you know that? How are you 100% sure?
Every single logistical metric that we know in the form of science literally concludes that the sun is going to rise tomorrow. And any sort of anomaly, we would generally have a consensus of whether or not that anomaly is going to be the determining factor of whether or not we're going to see another rotation.
Well, you said generally. Does that mean you think it's possible there could be an anomaly that we're not aware of?
Right. There's always a possibility,
so we're not 100% certain that the sun will rise tomorrow.
We're never 100% certain, but we can usually make a conclusion.
Sure.
We can make a general conclusion on what would be the most likely scenario, right?
So I think we can do the exact same thing with our belief in God.
But how will we be able to do that when there is no substantiation outside of faith?
Yeah, I don't think that there is no substantiation outside of faith. I reject that. I think that
So what substantiation do you have for it?
Sure. So you can have personally motivating justifications. So you could have, like, for example, subjective experiences that reinforce your belief in God, and that's a perfectly good reason for you to personally believe yourself. And I don't think that would be illogical at all. So then you could say, so therefore I'm a theist. There's philosophically compelling arguments both for and against the existence of God that you can get into the weeds of if you want. And then there's historical evidence that can also suggest the existence of God. So there's a lot of evidence to unpack. And I think that it's definitely possible that you could make a rational inference that, well, I think the existence or non-existence of God is most likely, and therefore you wouldn't be agnostic, but you'd be being perfectly logical.
Why are there so many sides who claim to have evidence, either proving the affirmative or the negative? The affirmative being that God is real, or this religion is true, or the negative being like, no, this religion isn't true. It's actually this religion that is true, or none of the religions is true. We're just living in a society that has conformed to religion outside of logic. Like, how do we know which one is?
So how do we know is a good question. Is a different. You kind of asked two questions. So the first question you asked was, why are there a bunch of different, like, evidences that people propose, and the second question you asked is, how do we know which one's right? To the first question, I don't think that's necessarily a problem in terms of not being agnostic about stuff. So, like, for example, basically all of your hot takes on your list. You're not agnostic about any of these. You believe these claims, but all of these claims are things that are debated and that different people have a lot of different conclusions about and different evidence to support their conclusions. So just because there's a lot of different explanations with their own respective like bodies of evidence doesn't mean that we should be agnostic. Now, in terms of how do you figure out which one's right, that's just a matter of looking at the evidence for like the bodies of existing bodies of evidence for each claim, and then you have to make an evaluation based on that and try and figure out what makes the most sense to you, just like you did for all these hot takes on your list.
But even with the list, right? There's been a massive conclusion of evidence and reasoning, like you mentioned, whereas quote unquote subjective experiences or research that has been done that has led to said conclusion, right? The problem is that these are things that we see on a day-to-day basis. With religiosity, this isn't something that is seen by everybody. This is something that is seen by a specific collective of people. So this could fall into Christianity, this could fall into Islam, Buddhism, whatever religion that you want to choose, this could possibly fall into. And the reason why I'm saying that agnosticism makes the most sense is simply based off of the fact that there is either a lack of evidence on both sides, or there is an overwhelming amount of evidence on both sides to where you can't make that conclusion on which side you actually want to, which side actually makes the most sense. So with agnosticism, it actually allows the perspective of both to be taken into consideration and for you to be able to act accordingly with that. Does that make sense?
I think I understand the point you're making. I don't agree with the last bit you said, though. I think that the idea that you could have two equally legitimate competing bodies of evidence that are getting us to two contradictory claims, I don't think that's possible. Because there is going to be an underlying fact of the matter. So, either God does exist or he doesn't. And agnosticism, of course, doesn't disagree with that. It's more about what we can know. But there couldn't possibly be good substantial evidence saying God does exist and also good substantial evidence saying God doesn't exist. I don't see how that would be the case. Certainly, if God does exist, it seems very unlikely that it would be the case that God would have good, convincing, substantial evidence that pointing away from his existence. I think that where agnosticism would make sense, where agnosticism would be the only logical conclusion, is if you want to say that there's no possible way we as humans can know anything about God or come to any conclusions about God. But to make the claim that agnosticism is the only logical conclusion is basically to say that believing in God is illogical and not believing in God is illogical. But
well, that's the point of faith. That's definitionally consistent with faith, though, right? Faith is technically illogical. So with that, with that, I'm looking at it from the sense of a logical basis. So
yeah, I don't think that your belief in God has to be grounded on faith.
But wait. But that's the fundamental principle of that particular side of religion, especially with Christianity. I know this because I grew up in this setting, right? Where it literally says in the scripture, walk by faith and not by sight, right? So faith is a fundamental principle that you have to operate under.
Faith is not fundamental to believing in God.
So how is faith not a fundamental? How is that not fundamental when it literally says so in the scripture?
Is the Christian God the only conception of God to you?
I mean, like I said, I'm an agnostic Christian, so which means that I'm open to the possibility of me being wrong. I'm more open than the usual person to the possibility of me being wrong about the existence of God. Hang on, but in principle, I still operate off of the same morale and the same principles as a Christian would. So
what is an agnostic Christian? That seems like an oxymoron to me.
It's
what does that mean?
It's not an oxymoron, and I just clarified it for you, right? I am open to the possibility of me being wrong about my religious views. Meaning,
but you do believe God exists.
Hang on. I'm not sure. I want to believe that God exists, but I'm not sure, right? Okay. And I know that I'm not sure, even though I read the Bible, even though I operate off of Christian principles, morals, so on and so forth. I can never say with 100% certainty that I know for a fact, without a shadow of a doubt, that God exists. I don't know that. So I
Sure.
operate off of Christian principles, but when it comes to a faith versus logic basis, I don't have that type of wiring in my brain.
Okay.
So I
Let me
operate under agnosticism.
to try and help me understand. I'll give you two like beliefs I have, and you tell me which kind of belief your belief in God is like. So like, I could have a belief such as I believe that the weather is going to be is not. I believe it's not going to rain tomorrow. That's something I believe. Now, if you ask me if I'm 100% sure, I would say no, of course not. And if you ask me if it could rain tomorrow, I'd say yeah, I could be wrong, but I still nonetheless believe it's not going to rain because I've looked at the weather forecast. Now, on the other hand, there could be something that I'm truly, truly, completely agnostic about. So, like, if you ask me, do you think a person named, I don't know, John is going to be born in the next second, something like that? I literally, truly have no idea. I don't believe he will be or he won't be. I have absolutely no belief one way or the other with respect to that question. So, is your belief in God like the first kind where you say, well, I do believe God exists, but I just think that I could be wrong. It's possible he doesn't. Or are you saying I truly have don't lean one way or the other? I have no clue with respect to God's existence.
You just
Which
answered
camp do
your
you fall into?
you just answered your own question.
I don't see how. Which of the are you? Do you fall
I
to the
told
first one or the
you
second one?
I literally told you in the first one. I told you in the very
Okay.
beginning, like word for word, bar for bar. You just repeated what I said with the first one.
Okay. Well, in that case, you are a theist in that you believe in God. You believe God exists. Now you believe you
Sure,
could be wrong,
you can make that
but you do believe
assessment,
God
but
exists.
you can make that assessment, but maybe I'm just not as much of a theist as compared to other
Yeah.
theists, right?
I
So,
totally agree with you. I
but
think that's probably true,
with
but you're
that,
not
but with
agnostic.
that, how would I not be agnostic if I know that there's a possibility of me being wrong?
Yeah, because
With the
agnosticism.
with theists, they have at the bare minimum a 98% 98% certainty that
Mhm.
what they believe and what they're saying is correct. No.
Well, if you're 98% certain, you still think you could be wrong. Agnosticism does not say that I could be wrong. Agnosticism says nothing can be known with respect to this proposition. So to be agnostic on the existence of God is to say nothing can be known about God. I have no idea one way or the other if God exists. I completely lack, utterly lack belief. I lack the belief that he does or does not exist. I have no belief. That's agnosticism. To say that I do believe God exists, but I could be wrong, is to be theistic. Just not as theistic, as ardently theistic as some other people.
So agnosticism, and I'm looking this up, a person who believes that nothing is known or can be known of the existence or nature of God or of anything beyond material phenomena, a person who claims neither faith nor disbelief in God.
Yep, exactly.
Did I not say from the very beginning that I am not wired to operate under a sentiment of faith, but more so the sentiment of logic?
Yeah, so
Right.
if an agnostic is a
So
person
if I
who
said that
claims neither.
no. Wait a minute. So if I said
Okay.
that earlier, right, then that literally showed that literally substantiates what I'm saying, that I can still be an agnostic. However, I can still operate under, like I said earlier, Christian principles. Right? There are still principles that I were raised under that I still abide by at my 22-year-old age. Right?
Sure.
So I can still be an agnostic, but still operate under those Christian tendencies.
Okay.
That's what I mean when I say agnostic Christian.
Do you think that anything can be known about God?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No,
Okay, then you're not agnostic, because to be agnostic, you have to believe that nothing can be known about God. You just read that out.
I think you're misconstruing the definition on
A
purpose.
person who believes that nothing is known or can be known of the existence or nature of God. So I asked you, do you believe that nothing is known or can be known of the existence of God? And you
That's
said,
literally
I
the
don't
same
know.
thing. That's literally the same thing as saying I don't know.
No. That if you ask an
Yes,
agnostic,
it is.
if you ask an agnostic, do you believe that nothing is known or can be known of the existence or nature of God? They would say, yes, I believe that nothing can be known. I believe I don't know about God. Now, when I asked you that question, you didn't say, yes, I don't know. You said, I don't know if I don't know, which is not the same thing.
Wait, repeat the question.
Do you believe that nothing can be known about the existence or nature of God?
Yes.
Okay.
I probably misheard your question. That's probably why there was confusion.
Okay, no problem. So, in that case, I would think the only logical conclusion you could get to from there is that you don't believe in God and you don't disbelieve in God. You make no belief claims with respect to the existence of God. But it seems like you do personally hold that God exists.
That's why I literally said that I don't have any faith in the religion itself. I just abide by said principles. But I'm not sure about it. I'm not sure about it actually being a true thing.
So you abide by Christian principles, but you don't actually believe the Christian God exists.
I don't know if the Christian God exists, and I don't think that there's anything.
Which would mean you don't believe he exists.
I don't think that that's not what that means, right?
Okay, so do you believe
not believing that he exists would be a blatant denial, right? What I'm saying is that
that's not true.
What I'm saying, yes, it is. If you actually look up that, okay, so hang on. So let's actually look up, because what you're conflating at this point, agnosticism with atheism. Let's look up what atheism means, right? Hang on.
I'm not doing
a lack of belief or a strong disbelief in the existence of God or any gods. What have I ever?
That's not a good definition, but I'm not conflating that anyways.
I mean, listen. I look it up. Google is free. Use it for yourself. If you don't abide by definitions, personally, I don't give a shit.
I abide by the philosophical definitions, how these words are used in philosophy.
Right. So if you want to make this a semantical engagement, pass. But I don't at all. Right, so that's the definition that's going to be used. So if we're talking about a strong disbelief, I don't have a strong disbelief in God. I said specifically in the beginning of this engagement that I am fully 100% open to the possibility of it either being true or untrue. But I do not have any evidence to substantiate the either or the or, which is why I stand on agnosticism.
Okay, so do you believe in God?
Dude,
just say yes or no. It's an easy question.
You already know the answer to this question.
Is the answer no? I don't know. I actually don't.
You already know the answer to this question.
Are you refusing the inability to answer basic questions is a sign of intellectual dishonesty?
You asked me this question twice over.
I don't believe you've ever given me a direct yes or no answer. Just say yes or no. Do you believe in God?
I said that I'm not sure.
Okay, so you're not giving me a yes or no answer to this question?
I literally said that I don't know for sure.
Okay, so you
can't give me a black and white yes or no answer.
This is a yes or no
conversation like this. That's intellectual dishonesty.
How do you not know if you believe something? Wouldn't you be aware of your beliefs? If you believe something, you would know you believe it. If you don't know you believe it, you probably don't believe it.
I know that I abide and I believe in the morals and the principles of Christianity.
That's not what I'm asking you.
But when it comes to the fundamental existence of God, I'm not sure whether or not the existence of God is true or false. So I act accordingly to that. What about that do you not understand?
No, I understand perfectly. It's just not an answer to the question I'm asking you.
You're not going to get a direct answer to what you're asking for because you're framing and the framing of your question isn't even wrapped around the conversation that we're having. In a sense, it's bad faith.
It's not. It's a really, really simple question. It's just if you personally hold the belief that God exists or not. That's it. Super basic.
And I said specifically that I don't know. I can't give you a definitive answer on whether or not
how do you not know if you believe something? I'm not asking you to give me a definitive answer on whether or not in fact God actually exists. I'm asking you to give me a definitive answer about your own beliefs. How are you not aware of your own beliefs?
Because like I said earlier, there are conflicting evidence on both sides to the point where
how are you not aware of your own beliefs? How do you not know what you believe?
Because like I said earlier, there are conflicting evidence on both sides.
That's about the actual. That's about descriptions of reality.
The last thing that I want to do, sir, is to be able to have this conversation in a form where I would have to control this conversation in full by server muting you myself. Please don't make me have to do that.
Go ahead, you're good.
Right. So, like I said, there is conflicting evidence on both sides. Damning evidence, mind you, right? Of where you can substantiate the existence of God and substantiate the non-existence of God. I'm saying that both evidence are literally evening each other out based off of what I'm seeing. And I don't think that I'm going to be able to make a logical conclusion on either or side. So again, I'm acting accordingly based off of the evidence that I've seen and the research that I've done. I don't know for certain. I don't know for certain.
I understand.
Based off of the evidence that's been revealed, both in theological sense and both in a objective sense. I'm not sure which side is telling the truth, which side is making a better argument. So I'm acting accordingly to that.
Yeah,
what about that do you not understand?
No, I understand it. It's just, again, not answering my question. Let me see if I can give you an analogy, and if that might help you. So we have no evidence whatsoever proving or disproving the existence of other universes outside our universe, like multiverses. We have no evidence one way or the other, just like with this God thing, okay? So we would be agnostic on that claim. Now, if you ask me, hey, Keepan, do you believe that a multiverse exists, that a universe outside of your own exists? My answer would not be, I don't know. My answer would be, no, I don't believe that. I don't make that claim. In order to answer yes to that question, I have to say I would make the positive claim a multiverse exists. And if I don't make that positive claim, the answer is no, just with how beliefs work.
I think I know what the problem is. You're operating under the sense of absolutism, which I'm not operating under. I'm not operating under that philosophy. There are certain things where I have more of a certainty about compared to others. This is not one of those things, which is why I apply to agnosticism. And specifically, just because I'm agnostic on this one thing does not require me to be agnostic on everything else across the scope. I'm talking about it strictly from a religiosity standpoint. I don't know where you're going with this science base, with this everyday walk faith, right? Like what you see when you go outside and touch grass, or when you go to a family function. I don't know where you're getting these analogies.
I never said any of that. What are you talking about? I never said any of those things.
What is your analogy supposed to address here?
That if there's no evidence at all for a proposition, then the answer to the question, do you believe that proposition, is no. I don't know.
There are certain things that I can give definitive answers to, and there are other things that I cannot.
I understand. That doesn't address the point I just made. That has nothing to do with it.
So I mean, like, So what's the conclusion that you're coming to draw?
Do you know what a Russell's teapot is? Are you familiar with that?
I don't care. Get to the point.
Oh man, I this is gonna be. I can't really make this any clearer for you, unfortunately. The problem is you're not agnostic, you're a theist. You believe in God. Okay, so you shouldn't call yourself agnostic.
I can respect that. You don't think that I'm agnostic. I know that I'm agnostic, but sure.
I thought you didn't know you're agnostic.
I said I didn't know if I believed in God. I said I didn't know if God exists or not. That's what I said.
Yeah.
But
okay.
Operate under a straw man, sure. Appreciate you for coming up.
Yeah, no problem. Have a good one, bro.
Yep. So, Savant, did you get your mic figured out yet? Did you want to come up? Because I know you were supposed to come up first. All right. I don't know why the invite isn't working. There you go.
All right, you can hear me all right?
Loud and clear.
All right, sounds good. So the one I was curious about was number 30, objective morality does not exist.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the depending on how you're defining it, I think maybe from a semantic perspective, if I accept these definitions and we sort of argue over that, maybe you've sort of defined it to be subjective. But I was more interested in just sort of an overall, I think when we talk about objective morality, we both kind of have an idea of what we're talking about. So the first issue I would take is you say any person that utilizes objective morality is philosophically incoherent as well as morally arrogant if they believe their morality is higher than their neighbors. So that to me didn't seem totally consistent, because if I'm reading through the rest of your list, you're making a lot of normative claims. For example, anyone who believes this is immoral. If you choose the bear, you're behaving illogically, etc. So it seems like we could probably agree that you can make judgments about other normative statements, or you could make judgment claims about whether it's logical to do or believe a certain thing, even if that thing can be, in some sense, motivated by emotion. And then another thing that didn't seem consistent to me was when you immediately say anyone who utilizes objective morality is philosophically incoherent in their beliefs, which is itself a judgment about someone else's belief. So it seems to me that to say that someone who is someone shouldn't believe in objective morality, or that someone who believes in objective morality is making a philosophical mistake, like that itself is an objective statement. And I know there's a lot there, but that's just kind of my perspective. And I was wondering if you could sort of clarify some of that.
So this is how black and white I see it when making that distinction between objectivism and subjectivism. Objectivism meaning so factually based that it's almost hard to refute, right? Subjectivism being that you can actually have that engagement and you be able to have that debate, that back and forth, to be able to, bounce off of ideas. Morality being inherently subjective. This is my own worldview. I'm not treating it as this should be a principle that everybody should abide by, but I think that I have enough intellect to be able to convince everybody why I have the arguments that I have just on the list alone, right? So I'm not saying that objectively you are philosophically incoherent. I'm saying, to me, you are philosophically incoherent if you believe in objective morality. Because again, I'm not making the statement that my ideas and my beliefs are better than yours, or my ideas and my beliefs are more substantial than yours. That's why I have this forum open. That's why I have this forum open, right? So we can be able to have that back and forth and be able to engage, and possibly you be able to convince me of the opposing argument, and I just possibly nix this whole fucking take altogether, which I have done before. So nowhere have I actually made an objective argument, unless I was talking about like word for word, bar for bar, like concrete evidence that substantiated what I was saying. Which with this case with objective morality, it's more philosophically based. So it's already going to be subjective in and of itself, which kind of proves my point that objective morality doesn't even exist.
All right, so I think I see where you're coming from. So I'll sort of explain my perspective. So I think in a certain sense, you can say that something is that when we say something is subjective, we mean it's like debatable. And I agree that a lot of these things are debatable, because I don't think you can say with 100% certainty that something is right or wrong, especially when it's a really controversial issue that people disagree on. But when I talk about objective, I'm saying something like, we would say that it's an objective fact scientifically that like the Earth is round. But we didn't always know for certain that the Earth was round. Like the earliest humans, the Earth seemed flat, and some people might have made arguments that it was round, but it would have been, I guess, more widely debated or a controversial statement. But when I say like objective, so I mean, I'm not trying to make this a semantic thing, but I'll just look up like a definition of objective so I can kind of see where we're going to.
By the way, that definition of objective, I literally got.
Oh yeah, the objective. Yeah, you have one.
And subjective. All okay. Objective not definition, moral definition, subjective definition. All like as soon as you look it up on Google, it's copy and paste.
I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when I'm talking about something being objective, I'm not necessarily saying that someone's moral opinion is objective. Like, let's take a statement like murder is wrong. When somebody says murder is wrong, I think they're probably influenced by emotions. That's probably a subjective statement. But I think that the fact of whether or not murder is wrong, that's true or it's not true. In the same way that we would say, for example, that it's true that the Earth is round, and people might debate that. People might have debated that more before we had a lot of scientific advancements. But there still was a truth value out there, and that truth value was itself objective. So when we're talking about morality itself, like the statement something is wrong or it's not wrong, if we want to say that it's not objectively true that murder is wrong, then we'd be making it a state. Then it would be true that objectively murder isn't wrong. So just because it's debatable, I think there has to be, at the end of the day, an answer, an objective answer, even if we don't know it now, and even if we won't know it for the rest of human history, there would be an objective true or false answer.
Right. So with your example of murder, the reason why even that would be subjective is because the reason why we would even treat it as objective is because the vast majority of not even just our society, but globally, the vast majority of people looks at murder and thinks, okay, this is bad. So that's where we get that sense of quote unquote objectivism from, is that it's sort of like the collectivist perspective that we see this to be bad. If you take somebody's life for no reason, or your reason for taking this person's life was not good enough for us to be on your side, then you committed an atrocity. That's the difference. Now you're going to have a minutia of people that are going to disagree with that collective of that bigger group of people on their moral view of morality, which is what makes it subjective in and of itself. This is not me saying that murder is always good or it should be treated as always good. Based off of my own subjective morals, I find murder to be bad. And I take it a step further and say that, hey, if you did it to them, then it should be dished back to you. But that's just my opinion. So, yeah, go ahead.
I guess I would have a question about that sort of opinion, in that you can take a scenario, like a completely hypothetical scenario, like let's say someone 100 years ago was murdered, and you can't change anything about it now. It doesn't really affect you personally, but you could look at that and say, because a bunch of people feel intuitively that murder is wrong, and because I feel intuitively that murder is wrong, and because it's detrimental to society in some way, I can sort of come to the conclusion that that was probably a bad thing that happened in the past. And that's not influenced necessarily by your emotions. In fact, you could have someone who's incapable of feeling certain emotions, or they're very suppressed, but because of their education, because of things they learn in school or from mentors, they come to the conclusion that most people feel intuitively that murder is wrong, and the best explanation is probably that murder is wrong. And then they could come to a conclusion about something in the past, even if it doesn't benefit them to believe this. They believe that it is right for them to believe, for example, that this was a bad thing that happened. If someone comes to that sort of belief, that wouldn't be necessarily influenced by their emotions, or not primarily influenced by their emotions. But do you believe that that can be a philosophically coherent thing for someone to believe that there is an answer out there, I guess, and someone can believe that murder is wrong, not because they want to believe it necessarily, not because it leads to things that are beneficial to them, but because they believe in some truth value that is they're deducing from the intuitions of a large number of people.
I'd say that that's their prerogative, and if they have enough argument to be able to substantiate that, then by my opinion, then we can have that engagement. Now,
Okay.
if you're just saying like, yeah, I think we should just kill everybody, whoever, whenever we want, whenever
I see.
I should be able to kill somebody whenever I feel like it, then no, I'm not going to be able to have that engagement with you, because you're not making anything substantial or anything that would make me question my own moral judgment and make me consider yours as a new adoption, right? So,
Yeah.
I think that with the subjectivity of morals, that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't have that conversation and also have that argument in defense of your own moral principles. So you can definitely make that argument. But the point that I was making with the 30th take is that to make it seem as though your morals is the end all be all of all morality, and anybody else's morality that's even a pinch outside of that is just 100% inferior compared to yours. That's how I view objective morality, just based off of the definitions that I listed out, which I broke it down to the T. You had the breakdown of objectivity, definitionally, morality, and subjectivity. So how are you going to be able to make the assessment that your morals is better than mine? Objectively,
So
factually, how are you going to be able to make that argument? I'm sorry, go ahead.
objectively, actually. So I think when you talk about having the discussion, for example, I think there's kind of there's the two extremes, for example. So one would be saying that it's totally subjective and you can't know, or one extreme would be like saying it's impossible to know which of you is like objectively right, and the other extreme would be saying that you're 100% certain that the other one is wrong. And I think that if we're able to have the discussion, that means that the truth has to lie somewhere between the two extremes. Because obviously, if you're 100% sure you're right, then you can't have the discussion. But let's say we're completely, we don't know morality, it's completely subjective, it's just up to you, then there wouldn't really be a point in having the discussion either. Because you could say, for example, that if someone believes murder is good, well, we could say, well, that's just your opinion, and there's nothing I can really say to change that because it's not objectively wrong. There's no ultimate truth value out there. I think to have the discussion, it implies that there is sort of an answer, and neither of you can really prove the answer, but you can find evidence for it. So, for example, to take again the case of like the Earth orbits around the sun rather than the sun going around the Earth. You people could have debates before it was widely agreed upon that the Earth did orbit the sun. But they could only have those debates because there was some amount of evidence for an ultimate truth value out there, and because they weren't 100% certain. So I think we could say that our views on morality, maybe some things they vary by person, but I think the fact that we are having a conversation is predicated on the assumption that there is an answer that we'll get closer to, or you can sort of make moral progress based on having those discussions. And it implies that we are progressing to something. And I would say that that something would have to be objective, or there's no point in pursuing it.
I see where you're coming from. So were you essentially arguing from the position in favor of objective morality, that being a,
Yeah.
significant thing? Okay. I
Yeah.
can definitely see your side of the argument.
Okay. I guess I would love having this discussion. Unfortunately, I have something at 7, so I will drop out now.
You're
I'm
good.
going to be here next. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, for
All
sure, man. Appreciate it.
You too. Let me disconnect.
All right, get up here, Lynx. Return. Oh, black people, man. Black people. Always late, man. Had your hand up. I'm finally ready for you, and you know where to be found. Lynx, hurry your ass up. Jeez. Okay, there you are. Took you long enough. You're muted, dummy.
Oh, fucking A. Hey, there we go, baby. Let's get it, dude.
This idiot right here, bro.
Hold on. All right, hold on. The only reason this happened is because for some reason I couldn't hear you speaking, so I had to fucking do some autistic shit. I was listening to your stream while deafened here. It was all fucked up, all right?
Yeah, probably don't do that next time. But
Listen.
alright. So
All right.
we did the pornography one last time, so pick another one.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
I'm
this
still
one.
editing. That's the worst part.
I'm not sure if this one was there before, but I'm taking the left is more hyper fixated in identity politics than the right. Absolutely not.
Wait, is that the first one? Hold on, let me see. No. That's the second one. Okay, that's the one that replaced whether or not Kamala Harris is black. Okay. So, read the rest of it.
Yep.
For your sake, not for mine.
Yep. So after Trump was elected, you saw lots of leftists that complained about Latino and black voters were not voting for Kamala Harris at a greater rate than they voted for Biden, Hillary, Obama, etc. Can you provide evidence of systematic, widespread leftist outrage, specifically against Latino and black people, against their voting?
It's more anecdotal than anything, but shit, I've seen it all over my algorithm where after Trump got elected, you had a lot of people. Matter of fact, wait a minute. I just thought it just dawned on me. Okay, so after Donald Trump got elected, they did a little segment at NBC, and Reverend Al Sharpton was being interviewed in that segment, and I think at some point they asked him about why he thought there was a increase in black and Latino men primarily who voted for Donald Trump, and the main thing that he said was misogyny. And I think that that sentiment is very prevalent within a lot of minorities that are also within the left. So they will blame racism, misogyny, you know, whatever sort of ism that you can attach to somebody without actually substantiating it as to why they decided to vote for Donald Trump instead of voting for Kamala Harris. That's one example, but I got plenty more. They're all anecdotes though, so take it as you will.
Okay, well, I mean, at least you're acknowledging their anecdotes. I mean, well, I think that matters though, because I mean, it would be I would think it'd be very inappropriate if like established Democratic figures are calling out people based off their racial identity. That would seem pretty,
Obama did it.
hypocritical.
Obama did it. He literally ridiculed black men because they weren't out in support for Kamala Harris as much as they were in support for him.
Did you or can you link that?
He literally did. He literally did a whole fucking. There's a whole recorded video of it, dude. Look it up.
Video.
Yes.
What's it called?
Yes, I don't know what it's called, but it was Obama went to a live. Obama went to a some sort of I think it was an NAACP event, and he pulled a couple of black men to the side. By a couple, probably was around maybe like 5'10", maybe more than that, based off of what the camera was showing. But to paraphrase what he was saying, is that he had a problem with the less amount of black men that were out in support for Kamala Harris as compared to him when he was running both in 2008 and in 2012. So he basically tried to patronize black men collectively by saying that he has a problem with black men not being in support of Kamala Harris, and he tried to enforce an obligation on black men to support Kamala Harris just by default because she was a black woman. It had fuck all to do with what policy she had or her political experience, and whether or not people wanted to enforce trust on such a political figure based off of her resume. Obama was even trying to enforce an obligation of black men onto Kamala Harris, or of Kamala Harris onto black men, simply based off of identity politics.
So the reason I'm having a hard time believing this would be the case is that because black men voted for Kamala Harris about like 81%. You're telling me Barack Obama roasted 21% of the black vote for not voting for Kamala? I don't believe that.
This was prior to the election that he did this. He went out and said this to get more black men to vote for Kamala Harris. This was about a month and a half before the election.
So he wasn't. So this isn't about point one or point A. This is a different point because this isn't him. This isn't Barack Obama showing outrage against Latinos and black men for their voting choices.
Right. This was only to explain to you how, yes, 100% there is a hyperfixation on identity politics by the left, and that is partially proof of that. And I'm scrolling so I can find the video for it. Here we go. And I'm going to send it to you. It's a commentary video. It's not the actual video itself. I'm sure it's on Twitter somewhere, but I can't be bothered to find it. But I'm gonna send it to you personally.
Okay.
Yeah. So besides that, like, what? Do you want me to just like give you constant back-to-back anecdotes of what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that's
so
productive.
It's anecdotes when you're telling me, hey, I see people on Twitter, tweeting about black. I can believe there are some fucking retards on Twitter. Sorry, wait, I don't know if you like to swear on your stream, but I can believe that.
Care.
they're degenerates on stream on Twitter, you know, talking about oh, you need to vote for this. But like if someone like Barack Obama was telling me that was black.
Your mic is going in and out.
Oh shit, it is.
It was just going in and out. Like it's like you went outside or something. I don't know.
Fuck, that's not good. It's an expensive microphone. Okay. But yeah, if Barack Obama was doing some shit like that, like you fucking race traders, like that'd be a big deal to me.
He didn't say
but
he didn't say race traders like verbatim, but if you are very careful in analyzing what he was saying, he was sort of treading that line. He was treading that line. He was definitely putting that obligation on black men to vote for Kamala Harris because, you know, of the perception of her being a black woman. I was guaranteed she's gonna go back to being just a regular Joe Schmo Indian after all of this, but hey, it is what it is. But like regardless,
Yeah,
like that's not even the crux of the issue. Like you have a multitude of black women that have gone out on social media, and I can get some TikToks and some tweets to send to you if you want to look at that, but I mean, like, again, I don't see the point of doing that. I have it. If you want it, I'll get it. But the point is that it's definitely been a lot of cope on the left side when it came to not even just Donald Trump getting elected, but prior to that, just seeing the rise in support that Donald Trump has gained by from minorities. Like when you compare the percentage of black men that voted for Donald Trump, that voted for Kamala Harris, as compared to Hillary Obama, Obama's second term, Obama first term, and then it just keeps going back and back and back. Even Joe Biden, even I forgot about him. The vote's low compared to that. So it's like can't really.
I mean, to be clear, both candidates underperformed greatly. I mean, Trump got less votes than he got. Trump got less votes overall than he got in 2020. Biden got more votes than Trump last year, or than Trump, and yeah, Trump got less votes than he.
First of all, let's be clear. That's because there was a lot more mail-in ballots there that were accessible to the average American, and they were taken advantage of. I'm not alluding to anything outside of that, other than the fact that you had a lot more ballots that were being put in because they were literally being sent to and from houses. So that's one aspect of it. Also, if we're actually looking at Donald Trump's approval rating, just based off of the popular vote and just based off the electoral votes, so on and so forth, and even if we're looking at it on a county level, state by state, that was not an underperformance. Donald Trump literally had that bitch by the neck and was smacking her back and forth like a pimp.
It wasn't a landslide. All right, this was.
Yes, it was. Don't sit here and pretend like that wasn't a landslide.
He got above the necessary amount. It was like still like a respectable.
It was 312 compared to 240 something. That's not a landslide. I don't know what is.
What? Okay, the Reagan election. What are you talking about? The Obama election? Yeah, those are landslide victories. Not.
That's besides the point.
Yeah. Okay. This is an election debate, but I just wanted to be clear. Donald Trump. Let me see. Donald.
The point being that Donald Trump got a lot more of the minority vote compared to not even just his last election in 2016, but just like compared to Kamala Harris and what you would think that Kamala Harris would receive. Now, this is not to say that black men did not actually vote for. There's not to say that black men. The vast majority of black men voted for Donald Trump over Kamala Harris. They clearly didn't. Just the percentage of black men that voted for just red in general, as compared to previous elections, was noticeably higher compared to, let's say the past decade or two within those elections in that time frame. So that's I think that was
Sorry, just to be clear. And oh, huh. This might have been wrong actually. Never mind. Anyway, okay, sorry. Time to segue into point two. My whole point, or to wrap up on point one, my whole point was that the pointing to random people on Twitter isn't like a valid criticism of the left as a whole. There are a lot of crazy people on the left, but like when we're talking about the actual mainstream like voice. People like Biden's, people like Obama, people like Kamala, actual people in positions of power, they're not spewing this crazy nonsense, and they shouldn't be held to the same standard, or you shouldn't be comparing these two things, right? And
the point
to
is that
go
they're
back,
doing. The point is that they're doing it, and they're doing it ad nauseum. That's the point. Now, I'm not. If you're going to make the assessment that just because there aren't any statistics that substantiate what I'm saying, that therefore it's not happening, then I don't know what to tell you, and I don't know. I don't even know how we're going to continue this conversation. Because listen, all you have to do is go outside of your algorithm. Because I almost guarantee you, you're not getting the same algorithm that I'm getting. I'm seeing this shit every
well,
day. I'm seeing it on
I'm saying it
Instagram. I'm seeing
doesn't.
it on Twitter. I'm seeing it on YouTube. I'm seeing the whole nine where it's literally left, constant people on the left that are being completely belligerent to not even just people, not even just the typical conservative Republican, but just the average person that switched from blue to red just within the past 4 years, right? They have accused them of being any of the isms, i.e., racism, misogynistic, and have had nothing to substantiate that. And if you're going to say that that's not happening, then I would think, enough evidence to show that while I'm not going to try to convince you that it's happening as much as you might think, I'm still going to be able to tell you that it's 100% happening. And you
I'm
can't
not
deny
saying
that.
that. I'm not saying that it's not happening. I'm saying that you can't use fucking random degenerates on Twitter as a mark against the democratic establishment, right? If I go on Twitter, I can also find 20 mongoloids who are fucking racist and will fucking talk about how Barack Obama wasn't even born in this country, right?
That's a
But
what
like we're
about
not
us.
using those
What does that have to do
people.
with what we're talking about? That's a what about us.
What I'm saying is that we wouldn't use either of the examples. I wouldn't point to Nick Fuentes on. Well, actually, hold on, that's a public figure. But you can't even show me like a Nick Fuentes or like on
That
the
voice
left who's
crack was
talking about
funny as
fuck
hell,
black
bro.
people.
That voice crack
Listen,
was funny as hell. The public figure.
oh yeah, yeah. You can't even tell a public figure uh, who would say this unhinged shit, right?
Joy
So
Reid
like,
said
I
it,
mean,
and
if
she's a public figure. You know who Joy Reid is?
who
Sunny Hostin has said it. Joy Reid, NBC anchor. You don't know who she is?
NBC anchors, I
Joy
mean,
Reid.
the
Look
NBC.
her up. Look up her analysis on
Well,
the
she's not a
2024
politician. You
election,
just said she's
before
an
and after.
anchor.
No, 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 no. You didn't say
She's not a politician.
politicians. You didn't say politicians. You said public figures. Roll the clip back. I'm live streaming it right now. We can look at it back. So you said public figures. We got multiple public figures that have been saying I would argue probably way worse shit, right? I won't say worse shit compared to Nick Fuentes, but you still relatively bad things and bad generalizations. So again, Joy
What did
Reid,
Joy Reid
just
say?
just the average. Okay, so if I remember correctly, Joy Reid, she wasn't blaming black men for any minority category, but her specific blame was towards white women. Joy Reid is a very racist individual.
Okay.
She does not like white people at fucking all. So she literally went on this entire rant blaming white women for Kamala's loss, and saying that they didn't show
Really?
they
Can
didn't
you
they didn't
link
show
that?
they didn't show out for her as much as white women should have, whatever the case may be, whatever sort of bullshit that she went to. But that's besides the point. You had Joy Reid, you had The View. I know we've all heard of The View, particularly Sunny Hostin. She has literally been very belligerent when it came to minorities who had a greater support for Donald Trump as compared to previously.
What'd she say? What are they saying?
I don't remember what Sonny Hoster said specifically, but like I
Okay.
said,
So
we can find
we
we
can
can find
move on
clips.
to-
We can go over it. I mean, it's up to you.
we can. I think we can. This is a good segue into point 2.
Sure.
So you say that the left is focusing on.
The
Okay,
left
so you say that
perpetuates an
the
obligation that they believe minorities have to that wait what the how did I word this? The left perpetuates an obligation that they believe minorities have to I should probably add follow. I should have to follow liberalism and the Democratic Party and the idea, even in 2024, that a black person can be conservative or Republican is unfathomable to them.
I mean, to be clear, to the first part, unfathomable to them. I mean, people like Candace Owens exist, right? The people like Milo Yiannopoulos exist. These people aren't unfathomable. But I mean,
I
if
would definitely
people
argue
are
that these people are unfathomable because the fact that we're in 2024 and we're still having this conversation of whether or not Candace Owens is black enough or whether or not Milo Yiannopoulos is a sellout to the LGBT community is still a prevalent conversation in these communities. So I don't know about that. There is still a very, very noticeable, if not extremely large stigma against minorities that go outside of that stereotypical status quo. Do you think it's easier to be a black? Do you think it's easier to be black and? Do you think that it's easier for somebody to be black and left wing versus being black and right wing? Which one do you think is easier to do for an individual?
easier
Yes.
individual. I mean, if you're
This
black
is
and
you're subjective, so I'm gonna pick your brain on it.
if you're black, I mean, okay, we have to make a lot of guesses, right? So if you're black, you're more likely to live in a city, and if you're conservative in a city, you're going to be in the minority politically, usually, because most cities are, going to be progressive leaning or left leaning. So I mean, but like if you're a black conservative, you're already outside of the norm, the average of what a black person is. So you might be out of the norm in other ways that might make your conservatism make more sense. Like it'd be more likely that if you're black and conservative, you probably live in a suburb or maybe even a rural
why are you
area.
tap dancing around my question? Is it easier to be black and
I'm not
right wing
tap dancing
versus
around
black and left wing? Which one is easier versus which one is harder?
Do you not? Hold on. Do you really not understand the point of what I just said?
I think it's a pretty straightforward answer.
What? It's not straightforward at all. Because your political beliefs, it's not just like you exist in a vacuum, right? Your political beliefs
don't
and the
piss me
effects
off.
of those political. Hold on. Do you not agree? Your political beliefs and the effects that your political beliefs have upon you are going to be contextual to the situation and environment that you experience.
You could definitely argue that there is an environment that comes to play into it, right? But that does not prove has absolutely fuck all to do with what I'm asking. When I'm asking you the question of when I'm asking you a question of whether or not being black, which would be easier versus which would be harder, being black or left, being black and left wing, or being black and right wing, right? Obviously, you can make the assessment based off of the literal stereotype that black people are Democrats, that it would be more difficult for a black person to be right wing. Obviously, off of dude. It's still a fucking stereotype. It's still okay. So if it's a statistical likelihood, then that literally proves my point that it would be more difficult for somebody to be black and be conservative. So that's going outside of the status quo. That's going outside of the scope. That's having an ideological difference compared to the vast majority of everybody else.
That's not even necessarily true. What if you're black but you live in the suburbs and you're conservative with your suburban friends? I
have yet to, even in my own anecdote, I have yet to see a black person specifically in my anecdotal experience. I have rarely encountered, if not ever encountered, any black person that has gone to my school or has lived in my neighborhood that has been more conservative than they have been left.
Are you from? Are you like?
I grew up
You're using
in suburban Michigan, Sterling Heights, Michigan. That's where I went to high school.
okay.
That's
I-
that's a suburb. I again, not a single black person comes to mind that was right wing during that time.
I mean, I would be interested. Let's look it up.
Mind you, I remember
Percentage-
my classmates and my teachers like the back of my hand. And it's been 6 years actually. It's been years since I've seen any of them, but I remember them like it was yesterday. So I think I would know.
Let's see. All right. I wonder. I'm truly curious. Where do the black Republicans live? Because my guess would be they're probably more middle class.
A lot
and probably-
of black Republicans and conservatives have a more conservative environment that they are brought up in. So you could say that a lot of these black conservatives might come somewhere from the South. There might be a prevalence of them growing up in. There might be more of a prevalence for them to grow up in a more middle class-esque area, right? I'm sure there are plenty of statistics that could substantiate what you're saying. The reason why I'm saying that I don't care about this is because regardless of what the environment is that the average black person might be brought up in, the point still remains that it would generally be more difficult for a black person to be on the right than they would be on the left, because the ideological difference is not as prevalent, right? You would have a lot more black people on the left as you would on the right, especially in 2024.
My intuition tells me that if you're
is that true or
person-
false?
My intuition is that if you're a Republican, you're probably hanging out with other Republicans. So I don't know. But what you mean by harder?
Harder as in being able to actually echo what it is that you're arguing, or be able to have that conversation with people, right, without getting your perspective just completely shat on just because of who you are and because you're not meeting the stereotype. Perfect example. I'm still working on this video right now. Candace Owens, Tim Scott, Larry Elder, Ben Carson, Clarence Thomas, Thomas Sowell, Coleman Hughes. I could keep going if you want me to. There's a multitude of black men and women that are more conservative leaning that comes to my mind automatically, that gets a lot more criticism than your average black progressive or black leftist in general. So this substantiates my point. Do you think? Let me be honest with you. You haven't even heard of Joy Reid, which is ironic enough because she's literally she's literally a relatively popular figure on the NBC network, and she literally contributed a lot when it came to her commentary on the election, both before and after. Yet she does not get as much criticism thrown at her compared to a Candace Owens, for example, right? You don't have a lot of conservative minds that are able to actually get their perspectives heard out in full without getting a shit ton more criticism thrown at them as compared to a black progressive.
You don't think the amount of black conservative figures is probably just more proportional to the populations? The population there. It's a small pool of the population to begin with, and then you're taking a 20% slice of that.
I was using figures as an example. The point is that these figures are getting an ad nauseum amount of criticism compared to their progressive counterparts. Then imagine imagine the average black conservative, imagine the average black libertarian, imagine the average black Republican. Like the one that isn't a public figure. If they were to be put in the room with black progressives, or just people that were that ideologically differed from them, but they were still black, right? You mean to tell me that it would be a lot more difficult for that person to be, in that crowd compared to, let's say, a black progressive?
Wait, because they're black?
No, because they're conservative, dickhead.
Yeah, that's the point. Okay, so if they're getting bullied, it's because they're conservative, not because they're black.
So
what do you mean it's harder to be black conservative?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's literally what I'm saying. So if they're gonna get bullied, if they're gonna get bullied, if they're gonna get bullied, if they're gonna get ridiculed at a far greater sense compared to a black progressive, right? Then that literally proves my point that it's going to be a lot more difficult for somebody to be a black conservative than it is to be a black progressive because of the status quo.
They're not going to get bullied more. Where's this coming from that they get bullied more?
Oh my fucking god, dude! I literally just expanded. I monologued on it. I rambled, bro. I yapped about it.
Monologue doesn't make sense.
What are you missing?
You're saying if they're. What do you mean? Your claim is that it's harder to be black and conservative. I'm arguing that those are unrelated. If you're experiencing hardships because of your political opinion, it's just because of your political opinion. It's not because they're black and conservative. It's just because they're conservative, and of course they're going to disagree with progressives.
It's not even just debate. It's not even just the fact that they're conservative. It's the fact, why are you black and conservative? Which are you? You're not gonna get the sellout accusations. You're not gonna get the coon accusations as much as a black progressive isn't gonna get those accusations as much as a black conservative is. Name what I haven't heard. I mean this with 100% seriousness. I have yet to see a black progressive get called an Uncle Tom by the collective of black people. The vast majority of them. I have yet to see that. But if it's Candace Owens, if it's Clarence Thomas, if it's Ben Carson, so on and so forth, they get called Uncle Toms off the gate because they have more conservative views than the average person. If they were to say for example, I don't think that systemic racism is a good enough reason for you to not be able to succeed in life, they would get called an Uncle Tom right off the gate. Are you denying this? Are you saying that this doesn't happen? And if so, can you disprove what I'm saying?
Oh, I'm just curious. Do you think that the reason Candace Owens gets hateful, like racially motivated comments just has nothing to do with the fact that she makes very racy comments about the black community? You think there's a correlation between those two things?
If you want to be able to get into the crux of Candace Owens' words, we can do that at a later date. I'm not saying this in a sense that I agree with everything that Candace Owens says. I don't. I think that she can be 100% inflammatory, but then on the flip side, that's what happens when you're an independent reporter / commentator. You're going to be a lot more inflammatory because you have the leniency to do so. You can literally do whatever you want because you're operating off of your own paycheck. So of course she's going to be a lot more, gung-ho, straight to the throat as compared to anybody else. And yes, she is a lot more inflammatory. That doesn't take away from the fact that Candace Owens, just by virtue of being black and being a conservative, that she gets a lot more ridicule just off of that alone.
I think there.
I'm gonna link you a panel that had T.I., Candace Owens, Killer Mike, and a few other people in there, and I need you to watch that in its entirety. Watch the reception that Candace Owens gets versus everybody else, and you tell me who was making the better points. You look at that shit outside of your own ideology and you tell me who was making the better points. I guarantee you're going to come back to me and tell me that Candace Owens was making the better argument, yet look at the ridicule that she was getting as a black conservative woman. On that panel, she was the odd woman out the whole time. Let's Candace be so fucking serious.
I just want to give an example. Candace Owens, because if you're hyperfixating on like the anti-black slurs or the which I don't agree with calling people, Uncle Toms and whatever. But I mean, this is the woman who says stuff like, I don't care about Charlottesville, the KKK, or white supremacy. I mean, this.
I don't even know what you're referring to, but I almost guarantee you just took that shit out of context. I'm almost
positive. It's the title of her YouTube video. It's the title of her YouTube video. Hold on, let me look it up.
Do you not know what clickbait is? How much shit do you watch that's clickbaity? You got clickbait titles in your fucking YouTube channel. I got clickbait titles in my YouTube channel. I only got 5 videos out right now. How the fuck are you gonna sit here and say that and make that seem as though that's her position 100% when she's just operating off of the status quo of YouTube? She's supposed to be inflammatory with clickbait. That's how you get views. It's the meta, bro. Like, come on now.
To be clear, the opening sequence of the video, the myth of the, in quotes, COON. Okay, listen, I'm just saying. The red pill black girl. Listen, I'm just saying, Candace, there's a lot of reasons that people, and I'm not saying they're good reasons. I'm not saying you should racially attack people, right? But it's clear to see that Candace Owens herself kind of leverages this type of marketing. So I feel less bad about the fact that people are weaponizing against her when she feels like it's so.
I guarantee you, she didn't do that at first. She used to be she used to be left before she became a public figure. She wasn't doing that. She wasn't doing that prior. She said one thing. She said one thing about George Floyd. One thing, and the one thing she said about George Floyd was that he should not be made into a fucking idol. That people should not be celebrating him. That's all she said, and people were on her ass like white on rice. They did not let up. They made this woman seem like she was a sellout to the black community, so on and so forth. Just because she simply said that she doesn't think that George Floyd should be somebody that is celebrated because of his past. It's unfortunate what happened to him, but his past sort of speaks for itself. Why are we idolizing this man given his criminal record? That's all she said. And she got called an Uncle Tom, she got called a coon, she got called everything. Everything under the sun that you could possibly imagine just for saying that. So the point is, dialing it back, is that if you have a black conservative, especially an outspoken black conservative, that black conservative is going to have a lot more difficulty getting their words out because they're going to be more susceptible to getting made fun of. They're going to be more susceptible to getting bullied. They're going to be more susceptible to getting mischaracterized, taken out of context, so on and so forth, by the exact same people that they're advocating for. That's the point.
All right.
You get away with a lot more shit being a black progressive than you can with it being a black conservative.
Well, I mean, that's different. That's a different. You can get away with more shit. Okay, I'm just saying these are very contentious political figures, right? I'm using the political
links. I'm using the political figures as an example. I'm not using them as the end-all be-all. I'm using them as an example for the average experience that a black conservative, that a typical black conservative might deal with. I'm not saying that the public figures are the end-all be-all. I'm specifically saying that if we're talking about an average black conservative that have absolutely no following, they just have conservative views and they just so happen to be black, they're going to get a lot more ridicule than a black progressive or a black leftist. It's just a fact. They do. They do.
You think
you're dodging. You don't even want to. You don't even want to admit it. Who gets called an Uncle Tom more, a black liberal or a black conservative? Who? Answer the question.
Why would you? That doesn't even make sense. Why would you be called an?
Who gets called an Uncle Tom more, a black conservative or a black liberal? Who? Links.
Hold on,
bro.
What is
bro? It could not be. It could not be that easy. It couldn't get any more easier than what it is right now.
Right. You just slipped a bunch of stuff before that. So you just said that Candace Owens is you saying you're using Candace
I was using them at not even just Candace Owens. I listed a lot of you're the one that hyperfixated on Candace Owens, so I expanded on it. I used a multitude of different examples. I used Ben Carson, Tim Scott, Clarence Thomas, Coleman Hughes, Larry Elder. I used a multitude of other black conservatives that are also prominent figures in which they have conservative views, which are also less inflammatory compared to Candace Owens. So we don't even have to just use Candace Owens. The point that I'm making right now is that when it comes to conservatism and being black, it gets a lot more scrutiny compared to being a black liberal. Why is that hard to understand? And you're dodging the question right now. I literally asked you the easiest question that you could possibly answer. Who gets called an Uncle Tom more? A black conservative or a black liberal? And you won't give me the answer because you know the answer, bro. You know it's a black conservative. A black conservative is more susceptible to getting called an Uncle Tom, and you know it. You know it.
An Uncle Tom is a derogatory term for a black person who is overeager to win the approval of whites.
I know what the definition of an Uncle Tom is.
Why would a right-winger, why would a leftist, apparently the party that bends over backwards and Black Lives Matter, yeah, why would that be the party that you would attack? It's like saying how many fucking progressives are called Nazis. It's like, obviously, definitionally speaking, no shit.
What the fuck are you talking about?
What are you talking? It's built into the definition. Obviously, when you're a minority and you're a voter appealing and your votes are and you're voting for the party that caters to the majority, by this definition, definitionally speaking, you're going to be called an Uncle Tom Moore because that's the way you would insult somebody on that side of the aisle. It doesn't make sense to
right. So long story short, black conservatives get called Uncle Tom more than black liberals, right?
And yeah, okay.
This is the second part of the question. Is it justified? Yes or no?
Is it justified to call people racial slurs?
No. Is it justified that black conservatives get called Uncle Tom and other racially driven slurs as compared to black leftists do? Yes or no?
This isn't comparable. You wouldn't.
How was that? Links, you about to piss me off, bro. How is that not comparable?
Because that's not the lane of attack you would use for like a leftist black person.
Okay. You could definitely make an argument.
Well, okay,
you can make an argument for a black leftist being a sellout to the black community like you can with black conservative. It depends. The point that I'm making is that looking at it outside of ideology, we're just looking at it from the outside in. You and I have definitely seen more black conservatives get called an Uncle Tom compared to black liberals. I'm not letting the rope go. I'm not letting it go until you admit it.
I just said it.
Okay then.
Okay, where are we going with this? I'm trying to finish. Where's this dialogue tree going?
God damn. The point that I'm making is that with the second point of take 2B, right? There is an obligation that is perpetuated by the left towards minority groups. The example that I'm using right now was black Americans. So the obligation is that black people ought to be Democrat. Black people ought to be liberal. They ought to be progressive, so on and so forth. So with that obligation that the left tends to put on black people, right? It's unfathomable for one. Should I say damn near unfathomable for a black person or a Latino or an Asian or a Middle Eastern, whatever minority that you can think of, to go outside of that progressive worldview and to look expansive beyond that. Right? Maybe they don't want to be progressive, or maybe they want to be a little bit more like me, centrist. They want to be more objective. They don't want to be based off of these ideological positions, right? They just want to look at things objectively. They're not going to agree with everything the left or the right has to say, right? The point being that if you go outside of the status quo ideology, that being leftism, if you go outside of the stereotype, not being a black Democrat, instead you're a black Republican, you're going to get a lot more scrutiny because you're going outside of the obligation that the left generally tries to bestow upon minorities.
I don't know why we just looped back on this. We just came full circle on this. I disagree because the only people you can point to where this is like a problem is like Candace Owens, Thomas Sowell, who else? Clarence Thomas. Like these people are controversial for a plethora of reasons. Like Thomas Sowell literally is like the one libertarian in fucking economics.
I don't give a god. I'm gonna stop you right there. I don't give a goddamn about your person. I don't give a goddamn about your personal critique.
The racist thing is crazy, especially considering the Republican Party is literally the party of the Christian, the party of the nationalism, the party of anti-woke ideology. They're literally defined. And finally, we can move on to point two. They're literally defining themselves with identity politics. Kamala Harris doesn't do this shit. Kamala Harris doesn't talk about DIE. Kamala Harris doesn't talk about fucking trans surgeries. This is crazy. This is all Republicans pushing this shit.
Oh my god, bro. Oh my god, you're not serious. You're not real. You're actually not real. Okay.
Can you
all right.
Can you,
If we're
hold
gonna,
on. Who,
all right.
who
Yeah. Yes, I can.
Donald Trump?
Yes, I can. So last time I checked, it was Kamala Harris that tried to incentivize trans surgeries for illegal immigrants. She literally attempted to actually, or this was a policy that I don't know if this is a policy that she proposed, or she actually tried to enforce. She quite literally tried to. It's literally out there. Let me finish. But what she tried to do, I'm characterizing it. Not gonna give it word for word, bar for bar, what her policy was, because quite frankly, don't even matter anymore. She's never gonna do it because she lost. Ha ha. Oh, but what she tried to do was for illegal immigrants or immigrants seeking asylum, that undocumented immigrants per se, that she wanted to basically give them free Medicare, and that Medicare included transitional surgeries. So if a immigrant came into the hospital and said, I am transgender, I want to start a hormone therapy, they'd be able to do it. And the American people and the American public will be able to pay for that. So, or would have to pay for that. So this is where Donald Trump comes in that infamous ad about she's for they, them, I'm for you, whatever the hell might be. I'm not trying to make this a trans debate. I really give fuck all about it, but that's what she tried to do, right? Also, goddamn, what was the second example you? Oh, Kamala Harris didn't do anything about identity bitch. She literally paraded as this black woman, as this black female figure for the election throughout her entire campaign run. She literally said, "I am a black." She literally said, "I am a black woman. Therefore, you should vote for me." And if she didn't say that word, and if she didn't say that verbatim, if that's not something that she verbally advocated for, she let that go about for as long as it did. That it fucked up her fucking campaign. Because people were not feeling the vibe of just because you're black and just because you're a woman, that means I'm going to let you win. That means I want to vote for you. That's not what the American people wanted. They wanted actual policies. They wanted competence. They wanted to see somebody that actually knew what they were doing and actually made a better proposition. You can laugh about it as much as you want to. The votes don't lie. The popular vote and the electoral vote proves what I'm saying. Donald Trump won via a landslide because Kamala Harris' campaign was just fucking dog shit. And she had absolutely no propositions alongside with it. So the point being is that she let the identity politics literally take over her campaign to the point where it literally butchered it from the inside out.
The only party pushing identity politics was the Republican Party. And like you just said, the infamous ad where,
at this point you're coping. I don't know what to tell you. At this point you're coping, bro.
Hold on. To be clear, you're acting like Kamala Harris was championing some type of new policy. This is literally all this stems from is a fact that Kamala supported a policy decision, right? It wasn't even something. I don't even know if it went to be voted on. It was just. She said, "I will follow the law." That's all she said. If a law like this was passed, I would follow this law. That's all she said. And somehow that's her championing LGBT trans surgery rights. Like, that's insane. The that's fact a straw man.
I can get if you're mischaracterizing my argument, because I do have a bad habit of monologuing, and I'll try to keep it to a minimum. I'll grant you that, but that's not what I said.
I'm pushing again. I disagree with the idea that Kamala Harris was putting LGBTQ rights or trans shit at the primary of her campaign. The only reason that perception exists is because the Republican Party spent billions of dollars pushing ads claiming as such, and they do it to the point where they had both ads running at the same time. They'd have anti-Israel ads and pro-Israel ads, depending on what era you lived in. They were attacking her on all sides from issues she definitely didn't like. She probably does support some progressive policies in that right, but it's not like it was the primary source of her campaign. I mean, look at, she had her housing plan. She was planning to give out loans. She was planning to increase the child tax credit. She was planning to fucking continue the ostensibly center-leaning party politics of Biden, right? To say she was going above and beyond the standard is crazy. Oh, and her housing plan, yeah, the 300,000 new houses. Hold on, shit. Can I not fucking hear you?
I didn't say anything. I was just letting you go. I haven't said anything.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I'm gonna just let you have the last word right there because I see there's more people that want to come in. So I let it go on for longer because there wasn't nobody in here this whole time, and then now y'all want to show up now that y'all see two black men going head to head about politics and shit. Y'all ain't worth a fuck. But hey, thank you for joining.
Yeah, you had to start screaming so they could hear us.
It got passionate. We gonna continue this later for sure.
Oh yeah, hell yeah. Okay. Oh well. Okay. I'll cut it short then. Since we didn't get to point 3, but yeah. Okay.
I'll let you have the last word. Go ahead.
Overall, I think that we do not realize something, that it's no longer the case that the left is the one in control of the media environment. Joe Rogan, fucking what's his fucking name? Schultz, Aiden Ross. Who's the guy who looks like Joe Dirt who goes on fucking I forget his fucking name. But these guys are all shit. These guys are all fucking right leaning, and they have a huge platform, and even people in the center are putting their support towards the right now. All right, it's no longer the case that the left is in control of the media sphere, and I think this election is proof
and that's your fault. That ain't got nothing to do with the conservatives. That's a skill issue with the Dems. Y'all should have done better campaigning. Y'all shouldn't have been out here lying to these people, trying to make it seem like no problems when they actually were a fuck ton of problems that only the Republicans were taking initiative and actually addressing. Now, whether or not they were being genuine in it is irrelevant. The fact that they were addressing it was enough to even gain the vote of the average American person. So the fact of the matter is that the Democrats failed. Y'all failed, and y'all put in a bitch that didn't even know what she was fucking doing. A failed vice president. Tell what it is. I'm sorry. I know that was supposed to be I was supposed to give you the last word, but like, come on, bro. Y'all lost. Y'all fucking lost, bro.
The only reason we lost is because the Democrats lost is because Americans are dispassionate about politics, and the right managed to control the narrative so good that the left didn't surpass sorry, hold on. Let me rephrase that. We only lost because the economy was bad, and Americans feel like the economy is doing really bad right now. That's it. That's why Donald Trump lost last time. That's why Biden or Kamala Harris lost this time, because she was the incumbent defending. So that's the only reason. Americans don't really care that much about politics. But yeah, all right, peace.
Peace, bro. I don't know. That sounded like a bunch of coke to me, but hey, whatever. All right. Neon, I saw you had your hand up the longest, so we're just gonna get into it.
All right, you can hear me?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
All right. I want to debate because you seem like you say you're a centrist. Is that correct? I don't know you very well.
Indeed.
And so would you say that would you describe yourself as a liberal in a broad sense? I don't mean liberal left wing. I mean just liberal social policies and all of that.
But it depends on the social policy.
Oh, well, you believe in freedom. You believe that freedom and equality, not equity, but equality and things like that are more valuable than like social cohesion, right?
What do you mean by social cohesion? I don't mean to sound incompetent, but I need to understand what it is that you're
No,
referring
sure,
to.
sure. So, for example, like if we compare the United States to a country like Russia, where conformity and subservience are emphasized at gunpoint in many cases, you obviously don't agree with the Russian system of doing things. You prefer the American system.
I would.
Okay, and so here's my proposition because I don't see it talked about on this server, which is that America, by being a free country, has made a trade-off that essentially the vulgarity and general stupidity of American culture is natural to America because of its freedom, because of its equality, whereas dictatorships and monarchies and generally unlivable societies like Russia produce better culture than America, and that Americans have to accept, as the trade-off for our freedom. Would you agree or disagree?
Honestly, I don't know. Because I'm not educated on what it is that you're presenting. I don't know shit about Russian politics, to be honest with you.
Well, I'm not talking about Russian politics, but consider that America, compared to Europe before the general democratization of countries there, has produced nothing of global cultural importance. Nothing of like enduring value. Would you agree?
Like, have they actually left an impact on like global society within past a significant amount of time?
I mean, culturally speaking. I don't mean politically,
Cult-
militarily. What
culturally,
I mean is, there's no American Beethoven. There's no American Shakespeare. There's no American Dostoevsky. There's no American, et cetera, et cetera.
right? But
And this is
there is an American Thomas Sowell. There is an American Jordan Peterson. I'm just naming prominent figures, right? There is an American Michael Jackson, right? There are a multitude of prominent figures that we can go off the top of our brains that have definitely left an impact, not even just on a American culture, but a worldwide culture.
well, but the problem
Yes,
is
Michael
the names that
Jackson was American. What the fuck? Oh, go ahead.
well, but the thing is that if you look at just the philosophical figures you laid out, like, well, Jordan Peterson is Canadian, but like we can include Canada and
That's
Australia, New Zealand
scratch that
as
then.
these kind of.
I forgot he was Canadian. I'm sorry. I'm so
No, no,
sorry.
actually, you know what? It's a fine example because I think Jordan Peterson illustrates my point, right? Like, we both agree he's a very intelligent guy, whether or not we agree with him or not, and yet none of his ideas would really qualify as original. And this is my biggest problem, right? It's that originality comes about because of opposition to a major problem in society. The problem is that American society, by being free, doesn't actually present many problems for people, especially nowadays, to try to solve. And so Jordan Peterson gets all of his ideas from Englishmen and Frenchmen and Russians from hundreds of years ago, and just filters them for an English-speaking audience. And again, very brilliantly, but he has no new idea of his own. And again, the amount that he has to cite other European figures just proves my point. And again, it's because of these conditions of freedom. And so if you want great culture and you want a great lasting civilization in terms of thought and artistic creation, you cannot be too free. You have to have some degree of evil in your society.
I mean, I don't really got much to push back on you on. So, I don't want to waste your time. Did you actually look at my list of personal takes that Boss Clip linked you earlier?
Yeah, but I only want to see what your opinion on like this cultural problem was, because you talk about like the culture war a great deal, and I was curious if you agreed with me or not.
I mean, like with my thing about the culture war is that like the only reason I engaged in it is not even just purely off of amusement, but I think it actually helps amplify my pursuit of intellect when it comes to addressing a lot of these issues nowadays. I do think that we have a major culture war problem. A lot of these culture war problems do derive from the incompetence of the average American, and their ability to be able to comprehend certain things and why, why things happen, how they happen, so on and so forth. It's just like, oh, everybody, look at this happen, and it just becomes a big controversy. Like, yeah, I see that happen in America a whole lot more. Definitely not in Russia, definitely not in America, definitely not in Europe. Well, actually, I could definitely see it happening in Europe, even with my limited education on culture war shit that happens down there. I think there's a lot of I think there's a lot of culture war things, culture war esque type of things that happen all over the world, and it sparks a lot of discussion and debate and combat between two opposing parties across the world, even in Russia and even especially in Europe. It just doesn't get as much global effect as say in America would, because America's America. Why wouldn't it? You feel me?
Well, no, I agree with you 100%. I think that, in fact, one of the issues, one of the reasons for Americans being ignorant the way that you very well said they were, is that they lack what I'm talking about, this kind of reason for creating a very independent intellectual culture. Because the intellectual culture that inspired the founding fathers came from Europeans who were resisting tyrannical systems. So when Voltaire criticized the French monarchy and when John Locke criticized various institutions that have existed in England, their thought was as a kind of cultural rebellion, if you will. And so the problem is America, because it started out as a free country, never incentivized people to really think deeply about the situation they were in, except for certain groups that have been persecuted by America, which is why you get this weird kind of identity politics, like opposition forming, but not like a cohesive movement against that, right? You don't, it just has to be someone like Jordan Peterson who filters ideas to people that have already existed for a very long time. And I don't think there's any solution to this. I think that in many ways, this ignorance, this lack of care and concern about keeping America afloat comes from the very nature of America, the freedom to be careless. Whereas a Russian could never be careless because they're forced to endure this like tyrannical system. And that's, again, it's this weird trade off where if you want longevity in your culture and you want a people who is concerned about their culture and concerned about deeper things, you have to have a degree of tyranny. And that's why, again, the countries that have lasted the longest, Persia, China, Japan, have never, until with the exception of Japan in recent years, been free. They've always been tyrannical in some way.
But what's your appeal that America should adopt some form of tyranny?
No, not well. See, this is the problem. Of course, I don't think that because I agree with you. I think we agree that the best form of government is like a liberal democratic government. It's better to live in a kind of cultureless, kind of identity-free country where there's this sense of your identity is your freedom and not this kind of like group think that occurs in places like Russia. But inevitably, it is going to lead to what America has and what Canada has and what Australia has too, where all these countries that don't have a firm foundation just kind of try to exist independently but can't really find their own voice, if that makes sense. Of course, I prefer that, but it's like the trade-off. It's like the ultimate question. Like, do you prefer an enduring culture, or do you prefer being able to live your life relatively free to every other people on Earth? Again, if you want suffering, but beautiful suffering, then go to Russia, go to China, go to India, go to Iran. But if you want boring, mediocre freedom, then America's perfect. There is no possible superior society.
Yeah, boring freedom is based. Have the I'd rather have the prerogative of sitting on my ass debating a bunch of people on Discord and live streaming it on YouTube than having to grow up in a communist country like China and having to work 24/7 just to make ends meet, but not be able to afford anything that I need because of the type of society that it was. I don't know. Shot at communism, shot at China. It is what it is, but I'm
Yeah.
definitely more preferable to the country that I live in now. Probably implicit bias because of that's just how I grew up. But yeah, I think that
Yeah, well,
I guess I'm liberal in that sense to answer your question from before.
no, yeah, like the reason I pose this question is because I find, and again, after this, you can like pick the next person because I didn't know if you would. I figured you'd either very strongly agree or very strongly disagree. The problem is so many Americans, because of American exceptionalism, people assume that America is must be producing the most original thought and culture in the world. But again, it's actually because of American exceptionalism that it can't. And again, people will get combative, and I guarantee you, if I said the same thing to Ben Shapiro, he would try to cite examples to the contrary because again there's this sense of pride in America, but unfortunately that specific kind of pride can't exist in a country that is founded on freedom and not on a group identity and on a degree of conformity that's forced on people. But anyway, I'm surprised we agree, so anyway, you can pick someone else.
Right. Appreciate it, man. Just so everybody is clear, um, I do. I am a. I don't know why this isn't working. Okay. Neon, you're not back in the audience yet, so I'm gonna have to ask you to do it yourself. Other than, yeah. But yeah, just so we're clear, if you guys don't know already, I'm streaming this whole thing on my YouTube channel. So I'll link it again just so everybody can give it a look. But yeah, I also have my list of hot takes there as well. Be able to give that a look. I was going to end it at literally right now at 9 Eastern, 8 Central, but because there's more people in here and kind of hit a point where there was nobody in the audience, I'll be able to bring in more people, probably do maybe like 2 or 3 more discussions. Hang on. Come in. Yeah, no, there's clothes in the dryer right now. But yeah, I'll get them later after I'm done with this. Yeah, no, I'm good. Thank you. Sorry about that, roommate. So, Shell Shock, you wanted to come in. So I'm gonna invite you.
What is up, boys?
What's up, Shell Shock?
Okay, let's take things one step at a time.
Did you want to challenge me or anything, or did you want to make your own? Did you want to make your own possible take and see if anybody in the audience wants to challenge you on it?
Yeah, I think I'd like to do that. You've been arguing for 2 hours too.
Yeah, I have. Maybe I do need a break. So, what's your take? And anybody in the audience that disagrees, first come, first serve. So the first person that gets the comment out, I'll throw the invite up immediately. So, yeah, what do you want to discuss?
Discuss that you can kill a burglar that has no threat to your life.
You can kill a burglar that has no threat to your life. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Utilize the chat. Does anybody disagree with this? Hurry up and type it. First come, first serve. I'll give you guys 30 seconds. I don't want a maybe. I want a definitive no. Disagree.
Or if you say yes,
Can you repeat it again, Shell Shock?
So go ahead.
The question is basically that you can kill somebody that has no threat to your life, but is stealing something from you. We can argue about it, but we can argue about it. Just say yes if you want to come up.
Me, I got you.
Oh, you.
Go for it, boss clip. Have at it.
All right. So
Gotcha.
why do you feel it's okay to kill somebody if they're trying to burglarize your house?
Oh, by the way, I got a 20-minute timer up. As soon as I call time, that's when the debate's over.
Yeah, so let's ignore breaking into somebody's house because I think you'll agree that if somebody breaks into your house, that's way too complicated because you can't make decisions that, oh, this person just is here to steal my wallet. He's not here to kill me because you can't tell, right?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
If somebody breaks into your house, do you have the right to kill them?
You have the right to detain them under any means necessary.
Including lethal force?
Can include lethal force.
Okay, so we agree here.
So we disagree in the aspect of you have the right to just kill them. Your statement was that you have the right to just kill them. Well, I'm suggesting that if hypothetically you should not your main goal should not be to kill them, but to stop them.
I mean, I can agree with that on like a personal sense, but not on a moral sense. If somebody breaks into my house or breaks into anybody's house, I think that person has said that my life is less valuable than your house, and as such, you can kill them for it. And they don't have to. They don't have to steal something if they've broken it. Now, to be clear, I'm not talking about trespassing. I'm talking about breaking into your house.
All right, so if they're just breaking into your house, like yeah, so I mean, if you agree that we should try to use as much force as necessary, then I'll agree with it. Up to the point to where, like, if it is necessary to kill them because they are burglarizing your house and you have no other means of stopping them other than killing them, then sure. But most case scenarios, if someone's burglarizing your house and you equate as much force as they're delivering, to try to get in, commonly they'll stop.
Okay, so I wanna sort of understand this. If a person, let's say that a person is stealing from you,
Okay.
but he's made it clear that he's not going to harm you in any way, right?
Yeah, I
He's not gonna touch you. He's not gonna harm you. But this is a 6'7" giant, 200-kilo monster. Okay, you're not gonna be able to restrain him. The only way you can restrict him is with violence.
Yeah, so I would suggest anybody burglarizing your house, violence is definitely my option that I would resort to. But let's say in the aspect where this dude's way bigger and he insists that he is going to come in my house and take my stuff.
But he's never going to hurt you.
Yeah. Well, you said, can you repeat that?
Yeah, the idea behind it is that he's not going to harm you in any way.
Well, he will have to harm me. Misunderstanding, Shell. He will have to harm me because I will not let him take my stuff without him trying to harm me. One way or another, Shell Shock. This man will not take my stuff. Now, if this means that I punch him in the face and he decides that he's going to stop, or I shoot him because I have tried every means necessary to get him to stop. One way or another, this man is not taking my stuff. But I will try to not just jump the gun and shoot the man immediately. I will try to de-escalate the situation up into that point. And then whenever there is a point of no return, then that is whenever it would be reasonable to kill the person.
Okay, so I understand what you're saying, but the problem here is that you don't know how far the escalation can go immediately. So you said that you're going to restrict this person's autonomy. You're going to try and stop this individual. But the question I'm asking, so let's say that you go up to this 7-foot-tall giant and you punch him in the face, right? And he takes out a gun and shoots you. You're not going to take out a gun post-death.
Well, that may be correct, and you are right. There is some sort of a backlash that could definitely happen in the aspect of me trying to defend myself, without a gun. But I will have a gun on me, and you are correct. If I do get shot and I die, I can't pull the gun after. But I will try to do my due diligence and try to de-escalate the situation, use as much force as necessary. And if that means that, for one, by the way, I said not kill him. So if that means that I shoot him in the arm or the leg or somewhere where it is not necessarily lethal, but will stop him, then that could also be means necessary to stop this from happening.
Can I ask how old you are?
I'm 21 today. Today's my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Okay, so I don't mean to be mean to you, but like a lot of young people seem to have this idea that you can shoot people in the arms and legs. You can't do that.
So misconception on your part, as somebody that has trained guns, pretty much my whole life. I have a 9mm sitting right beside me on my desk. You can shoot in places that does not involve the chest. So if you was to aim lower than the chest, that is normally going to be a non-lethal area unless you hit them in the thigh and hit a main artery.
Or the balls.
And it is highly likely that, for one, the gunshots alone, if he does not have a gun himself, and normally with just a burglary, they're not willing to use that gun to burglarize your house. They're going to run. See, there's a big difference in burglarizing a house and getting in a house and killing somebody and then taking their stuff. That's a lot different. Most of these people that are burglarizing houses aren't looking to catch an extra charge of murder. They're usually poor and they're looking for means to support their family by stealing. Well, I won't allow that to happen to me. I'm not going to allow them to burglarize my house, but I'm also not going to just shoot them in the chest as soon as they come through the door.
I've lived in like a third world country most of my life. People don't steal from people that even if they're in a desperate situation, they'll beg for money, but they don't usually steal for their family. That usually does not happen. This is a socialism fantasy. This does not happen. Okay, not every thief is Aladdin.
Yeah, so this commonly happens in America, especially associated with people that are on drugs.
Okay. Continuing the conversation on a whole, if you see a person that's going to rob your car and you can't stop them, you're too far, but you can't shoot them, is that okay?
Yeah, I'm not going to shoot somebody that's trying to rob my car.
Okay, that's a disagreement we have.
So the reason I would not shoot them is, tell me a setting that we're in. Where are we at?
Okay, Usain Bolt is stealing your car. You're too far from him, and he cuffed you to a pole. You have a toothpick. You can unplug. Yeah, he cuffed you to a pole, and he's run to your car. He's gonna steal it, and you have a toothpick. You can undo the cuffs, but it'll take too long. He'll steal the car from you. But he didn't take your gun, so you can point and shoot them because you have training since 5 years old. You've had a 9mm since you're 5 years old, so you can headshot his ass.
Yeah. So what you're asking me? The crazy part about this scenario is what you're asking me is, going to jail for murder is going to jail for murder worth losing your car?
No,
I would rather lose my car than go to jail for murder.
No. I'm not talking about the law right now. Is it morally ethical to shoot the fastest runner, Usain Bolt, that is trying to steal your car?
I would say it is not morally ethical because, for one, if this person is running so fast and he's so far and I have a handgun, then it is less likely that I'm going to end up, for one, guaranteedly hitting him. It is more likely that I could hit someone else or something in the process that is not him. And if I was to apply this with the law outside of this, now I am liable for all these charges while he can actually sue me for that.
So I'm telling you to ignore the law right now.
Yes, I answered your question with and without the law.
So you would constitute it as murder for someone to shoot somebody that is trying to steal your car.
I would constitute it as irresponsible for you to fire, let's say, 4 shots at somebody that is so far away that you can't stop them. And they're running away from you, and you're attached to a pole. And I'm assuming that this is like an area where there's people around. It is irresponsible for you to do that as a gun owner. Lose the car, then accidentally hurt someone else.
I'm not asking what you would personally do. I'm asking what the moral standard should be. Let's say there's a third party. Okay, this is a 4'11" woman, but she's practiced with a gun. A guy stealing her car. He's a very tall dude, so she can't restrain him, but she does have a gun. Can she shoot him? And if she kills him, is that murder in your eyes?
Can you repeat that? Your mic quality was.
All right. A 4'11" woman has a gun. A 6'7" guy is stealing her car. Can she shoot him? There's no other people around. She can't. She's not gonna hit anybody else. She's a master sharpshooter, champion when she was 12. Is it morally ethical, morally permissible for her to kill this 6'7" that is
Kill or
stealing?
shoot. Now you're changing the wording of what you're saying. There is a difference between killing somebody and shooting someone.
I'm saying she's going to kill him. She's going to shoot him, but the person is going to die.
And are you saying, is this morally acceptable or the legality of the situation?
I'm asking you on your personal moral, ethical values, morally.
So if I put my wife in this scenario where she has a gun and somebody, yes, if I put my wife in this scenario where someone is trying to rob her, physically pulls her out of the car and is attempting to get in the car, and she has an opportunity to shoot him.
She's already outside. She's going out to go do some shopping, and she sees a 6'7" tall guy that's trying to steal.
Then I would rather my wife not engage and let the person take the car.
So you would rather okay? Let's say she does engage. Let's say she does shoot this guy. Would you say that is murder?
So now you want me to engage in legality?
I'm asking you do understand that I'm asking you if you think it's murder. What is murder? What is murder?
So let's look up the definition of murder.
The unjustified killing of one individual by another.
Yes.
It's the unlawful, premeditated killing of one human being by another. Yeah.
Let's forget the definition of legality. I'm asking you morally, is it murder?
Morally, is it murder?
Yes. Like, let's say the law says that you can kill somebody that is trying to steal your car, that is not threatening you, but you kill this person to make sure he doesn't.
I think that you have the right to defend your property under any means. Not necessarily under any means necessary, but under what the situation presents to you. So if you feel that killing the person is the only way to defend your property, then sure, but there needs to be steps in between this. It's not just a this person tried to take my car, so I'm automatically jumped the gun and shot the man and killed him on purpose, etc. I feel like there's steps in between this. So hypothetically, if he was trying to defend your car and instead of shooting the person as he was approaching your car to try to steal it, I feel like you could try to disengage, and it may resort in you not getting your car stolen. But in the case scenario where you're mentioning this 4'11" woman, etc., I'm trying to put this very specifically. It's like if it was my wife, because this is somebody's daughter, this is somebody's, this is something to somebody. This, like, for instance, my wife. I would not rather my wife shoot someone or engage in combat over a vehicle. I value my wife over the vehicle.
No, no, but she's not gonna get. So you said a couple things. It seemed like initially you did agree with me that you can defend your property with lethal force, but you said
That's
that if
correct.
there are no steps in between to restrain that individual. So
Yeah, no,
in my
you need some type of. You have to express, in my opinion, you should have to express into court how you tried to take proper steps or some form of steps to de-escalate the situation or use some form of de-escalation
okay,
before you jump the gun and shoot the person.
okay. So let's say this 411 woman has two guns, a tranquilizer and a pistol.
Okay.
Right? You can either shoot with the tranquilizer or shoot with the. If she shoots with the pistol, you would consider that murder.
5 minute warning.
So if you let's change the tranquilizer to a taser, and let's say a taser or a pistol. I would say that would be murder if they shot them with the pistol because the taser would definitely detain the person.
I mean, sometimes they don't. Tranquilizer, I think, would be more effective. But regardless,
No, I'm not gonna do tranquilizer. I'm not gonna. Who carries around a tranquilizer? No, this isn't realistic.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can put you in a scenario where I say like I put you in a room with 3 gorillas and I give you a machine gun. Who's walking out? But I just start the statement off with you have to fight 3 gorillas, but I don't tell you what weapon you're gonna have. Most people would assume you're gonna die to 3 gorillas. But if I make an unlikely scenario where I just give you a machine gun, then you're gonna walk out on top. That's very disingenuous to like throw these unlikely scenarios at me to try to prove a point. Nobody's going to carry around a tranquilizer. If you're gonna be genuine, you need to use like actual scenarios. Like if you had like let's say a taser and a gun, that would make a little bit more sense.
Did you have breakfast this morning?
Yeah. Why?
Well, how would you feel if you didn't have breakfast this morning?
I don't know why.
Just checking. Okay, I think that's enough.
Well, it was good debating you, Shell Shock.
Yeah, we should have a proper debate sometime. James messaged me, by the way, on me potentially showing up on the channel. He said that we could do a 2v2 trans debate, but I'd probably be teamed up with Andrew Wilson of all people.
Shit.
Hey, that's a good opportunity for you, man.
Hey. Shout out to Andrew Wilson.
Yeah, Andrew Wilson. He's a good debater.
He debated one person that's in the audience. I wonder who that person is. Can anyone guess?
Yeah, and he got fucking dog walked. Sorry, bruh. Sorry. You got fucking creamed. I'm sorry. Hey, appreciate it. Appreciate you for coming up, Shell Shot.
You at least gotta let him come up and talk after that.
Of course.
Get up here, Amender. Defend yourself.
Shell Shock, you gotta put yourself back in the audience. I don't know why my button isn't working. He's denying. I guess he's just listening. All right, that's fine. I'm just talking shit, Amanda. Nothing personal. All right, G Lion, by all means, welcome.
Yo, hey, how's it going?
It's going good. It's going good.
Yeah, earlier Neon made up a point and wanted to talk to you about it. He's really well versed in some of those kind of things. I agree with some of it, mostly disagree. I don't believe individualism. I think like individualism has its place, but I think collectivism is better in a lot of ways, but not to the extreme. Because in Japan, like the Japanese are the most collectivist in the world, and the rate of suicides there and the rate of women being groped on the train is insane. I think there is like a good middle ground. But also, you would need to tell me, before we have this conversation, you need to tell me, are you like a true American patriot, believe in the Enlightenment values and the Founding Fathers and liberalism, or you're just like a guy trying to live your life, you happen to live in America?
Hold on, G Lion, really quick. Y'all know good and fucking well this man is not a Nazi. We've already had this conversation earlier prior to the beginning of this event. You're probably calling him a Nazi because of the t-shirt that he wore, in which I've actually investigated the t-shirt that he wore. None of it actually confirms that he's a Nazi. So I would please implore you guys to not slander this man and chill out. We're just here to have a conversation. Calm the fuck down. If you don't like it, by all means, you can take it. You can take it out. You can leave. You can complain about it in your own room, own forum, whatever the case may be. But I'm not going to take any slander. This man is not a Nazi, and I won't believe that he's a Nazi until he admits it himself. So, if I'm an Uncle Ruckus for that, then by all means, refer to me as that. But if y'all ain't got the nuts to confront me on it up here on this fucking stage, then I don't want to hear nothing about it.
Yeah, he literally said to everybody that he would literally, that he wants to kill a certain group of people that happen to own the media. He said that live in front of moderators, in front of other people, not just me.
First Amendment,
and you're sitting here defending him. You're sitting here defending him, and I don't think you should be.
First of all, this is not your room for you to just be jumping up in my forum. I don't know who the fuck you thought you were, but don't ever do that shit again. Don't ever just join on stage like asserting yourself like this is your forum. I don't do that to you in your room. Don't do that to me. That's first and foremost. I didn't hear him say that shit. And unless you have audio evidence of him saying that shit, then I won't engage. Then I'm going to continue to engage with him. He's allowed to come up here and speak just like everybody else is. I may not agree with him, but he's still allowed to speak. What do you want me to do? Just suppress him? Unless he actually starts spewing Nazi rhetoric, which I won't allow on my channel, which he has yet to do. I don't know what you guys are tripping about. Let's just start going on a... Okay, what is he said that was Nazi? What has he said that was Nazi related? I'd love to hear it. G-Line, are you a Nazi? And do you have any Nazi affiliations in any way, shape, or fashion?
Yes, I happen to be a National Socialist, but
Okay.
I've only been polite and kind to most people on this server when I've been here, like, last 5 days. But I don't want that to be the topic of this conversation, and I don't care, like about your background for this conversation either. I think you're a cool guy and whatever. I just want to, like, have this conversation, this debate that I want to bring up.
I can understand where you're coming from. Just for the sake of me doing this on a live stream on YouTube, I can't have you up here just so I don't get demonetized possibly before I even get a chance to produce my YouTube channel.
That's understandable, but I wasn't gonna talk about that though. But I'll tap out, man, sure.
I get it, but you know, just to save you the fucking trouble, because like it is what it is. Yeah. So if you want to go back to the audience, then that's up to you. Yeah, getting back to y'all, First Amender, WH, whoever else. Listen, I don't agree with Nazism, and I don't understand why you're calling me an Uncle Ruckus because I was willing to hear somebody out. See, unlike the lot of you, I actually have the ability to be able to have a conversation with these people. Amender, I already told you, don't be jumping up in my room like you own the shit. This is not your event. Move back down to the audience. Thank you. So like I was saying, right? I can have a conversation with somebody. It's not that hard to have a conversation with somebody. So regardless of his personal ideology, I'm still willing to have a conversation with him no matter what anybody is saying. So if y'all don't like it, y'all don't have to listen. I don't know why you're in here trying to steamroll me and fucking dogpile my whole fucking chat just because I was willing to have a conversation with somebody that happened to be a Nazi. Like that's crazy. So I mean, it's whatever. We don't need to have this engagement with a Nazi if you guys so choose not to. But listen, I actually have spine. I'm willing to have a conversation with somebody, but I mean, whatever. So Spurade, I think that's how I pronounce it. If you're the last person that wants to come up, I think this will be the last conversation before I end the stream and the event. So, yeah.
Hello, gentlemen, and
How are you
good
doing?
evening. I just wanted to raise a point here about the fact that after Trump win, and this will kind of go off topic from the rest of the conversations that we had before, but
just really quick before you do you have because I want to be able to make sure that I can actually have an engagement with you. Do you actually disagree with any personal opinions that I have?
I'm not sure. I don't know all of your opinions. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so that's on me. I should get in the habit of reposting my list, every so often throughout the event. So I'll be sure to keep that in mind. But
are more progressive, Baptist, conservative.
I'm
do you have any
centrist.
labels that you are comfortable with?
I'm centrist.
Centrist. Okay. So supposedly we are looking at things here from an equilibrated standpoint, right?
For the most part, yeah.
On your side, I am biased to being more right-leaning, to say the least.
Okay.
Yes. I'm not American, by the way. I am South American. I'm Brazilian, and I just have like this thing to raise to the question, like the morning after Trump won, right? They registered 800 plus suicides than they expected, or something like that. Have you heard about that?
What, people were offing themselves because Donald Trump got elected? I think I heard something about that.
Yes.
What about
it? They had like depression about it, anxiety about it. And
I didn't even know there was a statistic done on it. I've only heard Reddit stories about it. But yeah.
Well, no, there was a spike that I cannot source out of this. I'm sorry. I should have come more prepared. I thought I would face something else here, but that is like literally the last point that I think is still an attempt that nobody talked about. And the thing is, like, if you look at discussions on the internet, on either Twitter or Reddit right now, right-wingers, they will say like, well, it's mental illness conjugated with propaganda. And then people that are left-leaning, that are still defending all of the narratives that lead those vulnerably mentally ill people to kill themselves because of political narratives, they'll say, oh, you're being insensitive to bring this up right now. But at the same time, they'll not be short and just blaming their suicides on Trump for some reason. So they blame it on the bad orange man or something, like this orange Satan that has been slandered by the media for 8+ years, but they don't blame it on the media for creating narratives in those mentally ill people's head, hellish scenarios of like, hey, if Trump wins, if Trump comes to power, he'll kill off the trans people, he'll deport all of the the Latinos that are already citizens. It will be terrible. Everybody will be persecuted. Blah, 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 blah. It will be a fascist dystopia. And I'm asking myself, like, I did comment that on the side chat here. I'm trying to talk with this dumb optimist. Okay. That like, I mentioned that. I said it was not that relevant. But it still is something that raised my attention. That there's like a subreddit called like r/politics, in which basically before the election, it was just like a Kamala Harris bandwagon, and afterwards, during the voting, they were like coping and saying that she would win anyways, and then after she lost, well, then they started coping. They started threatening suicide as well, self-harm, and then after that was passed, they evolved to say that like all of the Latino men that voted mostly for Trump, they'll get deported even though they're citizens and they don't know what they have put themselves into.
I think I know what you're getting into, and which, yes, I've heard all of this, and I find it to be ridiculous that people have tried to make these fear mongering sentiments about Donald Trump and how he can, like you just mentioned, deport all the Latino immigrants that voted for him, and whatnot, and
and
he's taking away women's right. He's gonna just take away women's right to abortion, and he's gonna try and revert everything back to the way it was when everything was segregation and women didn't have no rights and we were living in objective patriarchy and whatnot. It's just a bunch of fear mongering nonsense. It's funny. It was funny when it for the first 3 days, but now it's just cope, and I just don't. I ignore it. I don't give it that much attention anymore because it's like it's pointless. It's pointless. It's baseless.
Sure, but do you think that this is a source of domestic national security threat? Because like people have tried to kill Donald Trump because they were mentally ill and they were following those narratives. So they were like, you know what? It doesn't matter. I might die in this attempt of
as far as are you talking like as far as the narratives have been spun about Donald Trump?
I think that the Democrats, they have been fueling an internal national security problem in America.
I don't know about that.
That's my impression as a foreigner. I'm not a political scientist. I'm just seeing that from far, as a interested person, because like obviously American politics, they influence every corner of the world. It's the biggest, most powerful economy. You guys are the biggest trade partners with a lot of people, including my country. And like obviously, I have interest. I look at this, and it's interesting.
No, yeah, I get it.
I see the Democratic Party as becoming more and more like a terrorist organization. I'll not be short in words for that. I call them terrorists in the way they act, their modus operandi.
Yeah, no, I definitely get it. I don't know about it being a national security threat though. And the only reason why I say that is because first and foremost, we've seen an insurmountable amount of misinformation, disinformation, mass media pundits overutilizing their journalism in a sense to push forward certain political ideologies, whatever the case may be, and they aren't careful with it,
including from the right wing. I'm sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, universally.
I also think that the Republicans, like Trump, he's been a populist about his solution to the Ukrainian situation. He's just saying, "Hey, I'll win this war very quick. I just have to negotiate with gentleman Putin," and he's not really being a statesman, at least publicly, to the American public when it comes to the fact that you guys will have to fight Russia, not directly, maybe by proxy, obviously, like there's still Ukrainian blood to be shed, but you'll still send them stuff, you still support them for a while, and it will be expensive.
We'll see what the West. We'll definitely see what the future holds and how Donald Trump handles the Russia-Ukraine conflict. But I do want to kind of bring it back to the question that you brought forward earlier about
I'm sorry, I was just giving an example.
You're good. So like you mentioned, the left and the right are both guilty of utilizing mainstream media in a sense that can persuade people to think a certain way, and The issue that I'm having, the issue that I'm
mentally ill
having.
people.
But
Mentally ill people.
that's where I was getting though. I don't think that, first of all, the one issue that I always have is that we often resort to mental illness as a means to pivot outside of personal accountability. I think that in a lot of cases, I think that these people have enough conscience and have enough sense to be able to comprehend what it is that they're doing and the actions that they're willing to commit. So the individuals that decided to try and assassinate Trump on those 4 separate of occasions, right? They knew what they were doing. I don't care if enough to even investigate whether or not these individuals weren't mentally there, right? To be able to determine whether or not this was a right or wrong thing to do. And I don't blame the media for that. I think that I blame the individual for the actions that they do. So
On a criminal basis, yes, I agree with you, and that's how the legal system should operate. Sure, I'm not advocating for indiscriminate political persecution of the Democrats. I'm just trying to get a message out there. I don't support a dictatorship in which Democrats get suppressed because they possibly have caused harm previously with their discourse. That's not what I mean. Totally not. I am just making a call here for more healthy political skepticism when it comes to those narratives that are portrayed by the left. In the same way that everybody has a healthy skepticism for something that Alex Jones, which is supposedly this nut right-winger, has to say, right? Like nobody that is serious themselves, they consider Alex Jones like a source of news or information that is technically valid, right?
Yeah, but in the same sense, I don't think, and this is me being very charitable to the left, which is something that I don't normally do. I don't think anybody is using Hassan Abi as a valid source of evidence for any arguments that they're making either, right? And I would say that Hassan Abi and Alex Jones are pretty even when it comes to comparing and contrasting between the extreme left and the extreme right. So I mean, I don't think that it's happening as much as to the left as it is to the right. I think that there is a ultimate hyperfixation on the extreme because that's what brings in the most views. That's what brings in the most attention. And unfortunately, I don't think that a more level-headed perspective, like I would hope to be myself, right, would get as much attention as, say, an Alex Jones or a Hassan Abi. So people are going to gravitate more towards the extreme than they are to the more balanced perspective, the more objective perspective, so on and so forth. So, I mean, yeah, I don't think that it's that. I don't think that it's ever been brought to the point of it being a national security threat, because these media sources aren't going out of their way to make a call to violence, right? I think that would be one of the crucial, if not the main thing that would be the determining factor for it to be a national security threat. A media source would have to literally advocate, and they have a major following. They will literally have to advocate for a call to violence towards a particular group, a particular thing, a particular person, based off of the narratives that they perpetuate, right? And they use their own political perspectives as basis for why they think that, say, Donald Trump should get killed or Joe Biden should get killed, so on and so forth. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I don't think that NBC or Fox News or CNN are national security threats.
Well, not those media outlets by themselves alone, but maybe something deeper that articulate them to create this whole political climate of violence. And this is something that should be under investigation by the executive powers of the United States right now.
How would they be able to do that without possibly violating the First Amendment right of freedom of press?
No, you can't. I am not advocating for censorship. I never did.
I'm not saying that you're advocating for censorship. I'm saying that how would you be able to do that without that becoming an issue? Because if we're going to be able to look at this issue and say and determine that this is a national security threat, right? Then from the way I'm seeing it, the threshold for determining something like that would be so subjective and so, tainted that you could almost make anything seem like it's a quote unquote national security threat and therefore investigate it legislatively to determine whether or not this press organization or this individual journalist or independent journalist, would be able to, do what it is that they do. And that's, report news from their individual perspective. The main thing is that I think there's too much of a threshold to be able to sort of taint that line of possibly violating that First Amendment freedom of press by committing to such an investigation.
Well, when you accuse people out of nowhere without no proofs of a crime publicly, that's criminal. It happens. That's criminal. They do it constantly. And if you can prove that those things have been coordinated, and if you can prove that the actors that are behind that, they actually are linked with either foreign government-funded organizations or even organizations that you could label as terrorists, that's quite something to find out, isn't it?
I can see what you're saying.
If that was the case,
I can see what you're saying in that
investigation, aspect. Very responsible. No, just a sec. If they did a very thorough investigation and they found out those things, a lot of the people that are involved with all of those efforts, anyways, they're very powerful. It's very hard to get to them. I don't think that you'll see justice in America, even if those things were proved and said and done. And you knew it. So that's my skepticism to the American justice system, even though I admire the American system because it's the most fair and well-working justice system that I've ever heard about. That's it. I'm sorry.
No, so I'm curious, and this is the last question I'll ask, and then I'm gonna start closing the event. But if what would be the end result if you were to investigate, this in particular, like how they report issues, for example? I think that's what your main focus is, right?
I think there will be some people that will be charged with high treason to the state. Some people will be charged with being affiliated with terrorist groups. And some people will be charged of.
I'll be there. Give me 5 minutes.
Government agencies to foreign actor or non-government actors that are anti-government. And yeah, it has nothing to do with independent journalism or anything like that. It has more to do with, just the fact that they really coordinate a certain even bias, even in the judiciary system, to not get the people that lie about other people blatantly punished legally according to good American law that is very readable. Or at least not interpreted by...
Not even Donald Trump wants this, right? And you have a lot of MAGA supporters that would 100% advocate for Donald Trump to investigate the people that have lied on his name, slandered his name, come up with stories about him that made him look like this, evil, sinister, white racist or whatever the case may be, right? Just anything to make him look bad, right? Not even Donald Trump is going to, go an investigation on these people, even after, you know, the lies that they perpetuated about him. And there have been many lies that have been perpetuated about Donald Trump just within the past 8 years, right? But I think the beauty of it all is that you allow it to happen and you let the people determine whether or not they believe what it is, the narratives that are being spewed. So it does more. There's a sweeter revenge behind letting the people determine whether or not they want to believe this source versus forcing the people to not believe this source because you are taking legislative action to prevent that. I think it would cause a lot more harm under Donald Trump if he were to governmentally enforce that.
I'm sorry, it's not legislative action. I'm not saying that you should modify any of the beautiful laws of the United States. I am just saying you should apply them in a way that people that are responsible for harm actually get punished. It's an executive problem. It's not a legislative problem. Sorry, mostly a judiciary problem instead of executive, but the executive will carry on with the, investigations. You have the FBI, and you know that those guys are all, full of very old functionaries in those organizations that have their own special interests, with all the respect, with the American state. But you guys are not incorruptible.
I guess I get what you're saying. It's about time I start wrapping up. It's 9:50 Eastern right now, so I'm gonna get ready to end up closing the event and ending the stream. I appreciate you for coming up and bringing your perspective. So yeah, great engagement.
Yeah, that was my perspective as a Brazilian. Boa noite.
Yeah, 100%. I appreciate you, man.
Yeah. See you, man.
Yep.
Kisses, hugs. See you.
This is crazy. All right, so that's pretty much it. Thanks for everybody that joined towards the end. We basically been here since 7. That's usually the start time. So if you guys want to be able to engage with me on this particular topic, Tuesday night throwdown, basically I just dropped my hot takes list in the chat, or you can bring your own personal argument and try and get me to engage with it on it. If I know anything about it, I might challenge you, I might not. I also open the forum for, anybody else to challenge you on any issue that you bring to the table, so it's not just me hogging the mic the entire time. So yeah, every Tuesday at 7 Eastern, 6 Central. Be there, be square. Hope to see you guys next week for the 3rd edition of this series. So yeah, also shout out to Anathema. Hope all is well. Hope you are feeling better. Hope you are recovering. Prayers up to you, man, because I heard everything that has been going on. I joined the server recently and I am inspired by your story. So definitely praying for speedy recovery for you, and it's a blessing that you're still here with us today. So yeah, that all being said, appreciate you guys for showing up and giving a listen. And if you guys want to hit up a VC below, and we can go from there, by all means, I'll meet you guys there. But besides that, stage is going to end. So yeah, I'll meet you down in VC. Appreciate everybody for joining. Boss Clip, can you end the stage for me, please? I don't know why it's not working for me. Oh, there we go.